This story begins in the Namgun clan. When asked who is the best in the world of martial arts, his name is the first to be mentioned. Also, when asked which martial arts clan is the strongest, they answer with only one option. The first among the 5 greatest clans, the leader of the Martial Arts Alliance, the most prestigious group, controlling the wind and summoning lightning. The top one among competitors, the Sword Clan, blessed by the heavens. The Namgun clan, it had 2 masters worthy of its fame. The legitimate heir of the Namgun family, Namgun Henho, and the adopted son of the Namgun family, Beck Jen. Especially famous, despite his origin, was Beck Jen, capable of mastering any martial art. They spent their childhood together and were very close. But after the death of the head of the family, they grew very distant from each other. At the same time, the once bright future of the Namgun family began to collapse. Why the heavens were angered? Who knows the reason? How can anyone know the reason why someone is despised by people? In the Namgun mansion, a bloody battle is underway. But when there is practically no one left alive in the mansion, silence finally reigns. In the hall, strewn with dead bodies, only 2 remain. The bleeding, kneeling Henho and Beck Jen, pointing a sword at him. Beck Jen's face, whose long blonde hair is even stained with blood, is indifferent. The legitimate heir of the Namgun family, Namgun Henho, calls him by name. The tip of Beck Jen's blade is aimed at him, but the man does not lower his head and is not afraid to look death in the eye. The face of the best swordsman, blessed by the heavens, is distorted with a grimace of rage. His teeth are clenched tightly, and anger and pain splash in his eyes. The man's neck and face are splattered with blood. From his lips escapes, "Why?" Looking into the eyes of Beck Jen, who has pointed a sword at him, Henho asks, "Why is he doing this? Is this how he repays the Namgun family, who took him in and raised him? Is he not afraid of heavenly punishment?" Nothing can be read in Beck Jen's amber eyes. He silently looks at Henho, a richly dressed man, extending his hand, offers to go with him. Taking little Beck Jen by the hand, he says that he no longer needs to beg. From this moment on, he will live with them. The exhausted blonde boy, in dirty clothes, cannot believe what is happening. Henho stood between him, already a teenager trying to get on his feet, and 3 aggressively minded youths, saying that hurting the weak is a sin. He orders them to step back. The girl, placing her palm on his chest, says, "When she grows up, she wants to marry Beck Jen's older brother." The young man's face reddens at these words. The girl hugs Beck Jen and Henho, saying that now they are one family. Laughing, she says that therefore her brothers must not quarrel. Bloodstained Beck Jen asks again, "Heavenly punishment?" He, showing no emotion, adds that he is insanely afraid. His hand, stained with blood, grips tighter the blood-red blade pointed at Henho. He says that in the future, heaven will surely punish him. Without taking his furious gaze off him, Henho asks, "And knowing this, why?" Beck Jen, continuing to threaten Henho with the sword, near whom a pool of blood has already formed, answers, "Because he was wrong." He repeats once more that Henho was wrong. In the eyes of the legitimate heir of the Namgun family, there is surprise and unwillingness to believe what he heard. Beck Jen, towering over him, says, "Therefore, whether it is divine punishment or something worse," after a short pause he adds, he doesn't care. He intends to kill Henho. After a brief silence again, Beck Jen says, he will put an end to all this. Henho's lips are sorrowfully pressed together. Drops of sweat run down his face. With his hand, he tries to cover the wound on his shoulder. Looking evil into Beck Jen's eyes, Henho asks, does he intend to completely destroy the Namgun clan that raised him, an orphan? Their family name will fall into the dirt, and the shame will be impossible to erase. Henho says mockingly, "Some mutt they themselves raised bit them. People will be delighted. Rumors will spread in the same second." No longer trying to hold back his anger, he shouts, And it's all because of him, Beck Jen. Everything, everything. Because of him. Henho still continues to accuse the man standing opposite him, but he no longer wants to listen. Beck Jen's sword rushes toward the rightful heir of the Namgun family. Henho falters, realizing that death is approaching him. Beck Jen's gaze is heavy and relentless. His hand does not tremble. Looking straight into Henho's eyes, he says that he doesn't care. In the next moment, the head of the rightful heir of the Namgun family falls to the floor. Standing over the body of Henho, Beck Jen says, as he said, he is just a pitiful creature, abandoned by the heavens, and an ungrateful mutt. His bloodied hand reaches for the severed head of Henho. He grabs the severed head by the hair and lifts it to the level of his face, saying, if Henho is in such a state, and the Namgun family is destroyed, then Beck Jen is to blame for everything. He leaves the hall, leaving a bloody trail behind, and asking Henho not to forget this. A butterfly with blue wings flutters right in front of his face. A fearless moth lands on his nose. His hand twitches and freezes. The butterfly immediately takes off and continues fluttering around the room. His teeth clench tightly in anger. Beck Jen's face, stained with blood, appears before him. He shouts furiously, insulting him. The very young Henho regains consciousness. Drops of sweat stream down his face. He wonders, what is this? Realization comes to him, but the boy still cannot believe what is happening. Is he still alive? Sitting in bed, he feels his neck, not understanding what is happening. Puzzled, Henho realizes that his neck is intact and his head is in place. Looking around the room, he wonders, is this his room? Shifting his gaze to his hands, he continues to be amazed. They are so small. An incredulous "it can't be" slips from his lips. He approaches the open window, watching the wind-torn leaves flying into the room. Then the guy suddenly jumps up and runs. Henho freezes in front of the mirror, carefully examining his reflection. He notes the beautiful facial features, light eyes, and straight posture. Henho finds this simply annoyingly perfect. He shouts angrily, of course this is his face, but he is so small. What happened? Memories flood over him, and Henho wonders, could he have returned to the past? Why? Touching his stomach with his hand, he thinks, something is wrong. He throws open his shirt and sees a zigzag scar on his body. The scar, resembling a lightning bolt, starts on his chest and runs down his entire body, disappearing under the waistband of his pants. Henho is puzzled. A scar? What is that? No, more importantly, why are there two of them? He understands that he has two dantian, reservoirs of internal energy. Henho, examining the peculiar scar, thinks that one of them is torn from the meridian system. He wonders, is it connected to the scar? The guy ponders where this scar leads and where it ends. The sound of footsteps is heard and a shout, "Oh, brother!" The door panels swing open and a girl appears on the threshold. She asks indignantly, what? Why is he still in pajamas? Looking at the frozen Henho, who continues to pull the waistband of his pants with one hand, she is puzzled. What is he doing? Henho looks at the girl frozen in the doorway, thinking, Hwarin? He realizes that if he managed to return to the past, then everyone is alive. Hwarin, father, and all other family members. So everything is now as it was before. Looking at his sister, he thinks that he doesn't care. Whether it's a malicious trick or a mistake of heaven, the main thing is that they are alive. Even if it's a trap, still, everything is fine. Hwarin is confused. The girl thinks, it seems she just saw something or not. Henho understands this is his chance. He got a chance to prevent the destruction of the family and make the Namgun clan great again. This is his chance to hold the position at the top of the martial arts world. Henho believes he has no time for doubts. He asks his sister, what year is it now? She answers confusedly, the year of the wooden rabbit. She wonders, did he lose his memory while he was sleeping? Henho sinks into thought, the year of the wooden rabbit. So, now he is 14, and Hwarin is 12. 6 years ago, Suddenly he remembers, in 2 years, 9 sects, not counting the Shaolin, Ame, and Kunlun clans, will disappear. Murim will fall, and the land will plunge into chaos. Father will make every effort to restore the peace of Murim, but will die in 6 years. Henho, becoming head of the family at the age of 20, will lose his authority as a leader. And while they will barely hold on in a very shaky position, Beck Jen's betrayal will completely destroy them. The complete extermination of the family. He must prevent this. Henho recalls how the daily life of the clan flowed and what his people did. In his past life and now, his family means everything to him. He believes that the Namgun family is above all. Henho looks intently at his sister standing before him. He thinks about the fact that he cannot afford to lose her twice. Continuing to ponder, he heads to the exit. The surprised girl, looking at his back, calls out to him and asks where he is going. Henho thinks, therefore, if he has a chance to protect the Namgun family, he will use it no matter what. He answers his sister that he is going out to change clothes, thinking that he is using all possible means. Mentally, he addresses Beck Jen, promising that this time he will be the one to lose his head. Henho stands surrounded by bookshelves, stacks of books even on the floor. He is immersed in reading. The guy is disappointed. There are no clues. Having read most of the local literature, he still found nothing useful for himself. He decisively slams the book shut. Henho thinks that he needs to go to the sealed cave of the Pangi Valley. The cave is located in the Pangi region, which is controlled by the Namgun family. Entry there is forbidden due to treacherous terrain. If a person sent there is knocked down by harsh winds and falls from the mountain, their body will be difficult to find. The guy, standing among the bookshelves with his arms crossed over his chest, says, moreover, only those who have passed the coming-of-age test at the age of 15 can enter there. He will only be able to pass it next year. Henho thinks that he urgently needs to get there. He has no right to delay. The guy decides to steal a pass. He needs to find the chief guard who has a pass and steal it during the patrol. Henho is upset. As a disciple of the righteous path, in his past life he could not even imagine doing such things. But what does it matter? They will all die in a few years if he does nothing. He thinks about the fact that he has never seen the book of secret martial arts kept in the cave, even after becoming the head of the family. The guy believes that there he can find some clues to explain what happened. And also, maybe he will find information about this strange scar on his stomach. At night, he climbs to the upper floor of the mansion at such speed that only his blurred silhouette is visible in the darkness of the night. Henho thinks that his main goal is the Pangi Valley. The guy closes the door behind him and freezes, listening. He is glad that he does not feel a stranger's presence. Henho swiftly begins to carry out his plan. He searches the room lightning fast. The guy is annoyed. Where is it? He thought it would be somewhere here. Henho notices a pile of carelessly thrown dirty clothes on the floor. He freezes, restraining the first impulse to rush to them. For a few moments he stands frozen, struggling with himself. Then the guy rushes to the carelessly thrown things, saying that he doesn't care about morals. He will also search here. He doesn't like the smell coming from them. He complains that the owner of the things didn't put them away immediately, but threw them in the middle of the room. It annoys him. Henho continues to look for the thing he needs. A wooden rectangle falls out from the folds of clothing. Joy flashes in the guy's eyes. He found it. His hand immediately reaches for the find. He found the pass to the Pangi Valley. Holding it in his hands, Henho thinks that with it he will be able to. He carefully examines the rag hanging on the pass. What is this? It's underwear. Henho swiftly turns at the sound of the door opening. A man appears in the doorway and calls out to the guy. The alarmed young man asks, "Who is he?" He notices parts of his clothing in the guy's hands and tenses so much that veins bulge on his neck and forehead. The young man shouts that this is his underwear. Henho, burning with shame, even closes his eyes. A shout comes from the house, accusing the guy of being a thief of underwear. Henho believes that this is some kind of misunderstanding. He, continuing to sit on the floor near the pile of dirty clothes, wonders why its owner returned so early. Looking at the duty officer standing in the doorway, Henho thinks he is unlucky. They are slacking off at work again. Before his mental vision stands this young man lying on the floor and pressing his palm to the wound on his chest. He says, calling Henho master. If he had known this would happen, he would have trained harder. Tears roll down his cheeks as he asks for forgiveness. These were his last words. He died before Henho's eyes. The guy remembers how much this person regretted his carelessness as he was dying. He is enveloped by an aura of anger as he straightens up, deciding to give the young man the training sessions he often skipped. Stretching out his hand with his index and middle fingers straightened, the guy swiftly lunges at him. The other barely manages to dodge. He looks at Henho with surprise, the lower part of whose face is hidden by fabric, saying that he aimed at a vital point. The young man shouts indignantly. A scoundrel caught stealing underwear dares to attack? Delivering a kick, he demands that the thief remove his mask. Henho blocks his strike with his elbow-bent arm, thinking, here we go again. The young man's fist rushes toward the guy's face, who mentally says, when the opponent is shorter, you must not let him get close. He thinks the youth should remember this. Raising his hand to strike, Henho decides to make sure he doesn't forget it. He promises to do it so well that the young man swinging his fist at him won't be able to continue his lineage. The youth leans his whole body backward. The guy mentally praises him, thinking the opponent has pretty good intuition. He changes his mind and strikes the solar plexus. The young man grabs the spot where the guy struck with both hands. Henho thinks it usually wasn't so easy to deal with him. He believes the opponent underestimated him, probably because of his short stature, and weakened his defense. Meanwhile, the young man still presses his hand to his body, still unable to straighten up. The guy thinks that, of course, a worthy warrior would never make such a dirty move as a groin strike, but he did say that he uses everything possible. Henho continues to loom over the opponent, who has dropped to his knees in pain. The young man shouts, "What is he doing?" and threatens that his comrades from the patrol will arrive soon. Henho mentally replies to him that this is exactly why he was surprised by his early appearance. He is filled with anger, and he wonders, maybe he should beat the young man even harder. He considers him talented, but naturally very lazy. He has caught him idling more than once. He preferred sleep to training. He always wanted to beat him at least once. The boy's palm involuntarily clenches into a fist. Looking at the young man, he longs to land at least one blow. Unable to bear it, he rushes at the young man kneeling with his fist raised for a strike. He straightens his numb fingers, on which red spots are visible. The young man exclaims at this moment, "What?" Henho, who arrived on call, freezes when the maid reports that the young master has arrived. He thinks that this is even better, considering that he was caught by that young man who returned earlier. There would have been many more problems if he hadn't caught him like that. Although, unfortunately, Henho was misunderstood. He recalls how the young man says with bewilderment, "The young master has such preferences." Then he stammers, asking Henho to forget his words. The boy thinks that he has defeated the one who has a pass, so he has an argument to convince his father. He mentally adds, and he also got the chance to see his father despite his busy schedule. He was not caught stealing the pass. Everything went according to plan. One must be more confident. Permission to enter is heard from behind the door. Master Namgun Cha-woon invites the guy to enter the office. Father Henho and Hua Rin smile slightly, looking at their son. The guy bows in a greeting, folding his hands in front of him. Cha-woon tells his son to come closer. Henho thinks, so much time has passed. His father is alive. He was always busy with work, so he could not see him often. Once when he was very little, and his father did not find time for him and his sister, it hurt him. He was young, and in his eyes the head of the clan seemed insensitive. But now he understands what it is like to be in his place. Those around him praised his power, but he himself felt the weight and helplessness behind it. Now he understands that his father felt the same. He remembers how he became the head of the clan. He wanted to ask many things, but by then his father was no longer alive. Namgun Cha-woon is staring intently at his son. The man says he heard that Henho caused trouble, but the son does not look upset. He asks, "Was it intentional?" Namgun Cha-woon says, he knows that the son wouldn't do something without a reason, not thinking about his reputation. Trying to look carefree, the boy answers, Yes, that's true. Actually, he thinks he instantly forgot the real reason because he was too happy to see his father. He understands that with Namgun Cha-woon, he can't beat around the bush. The boy says he understands that his method was wrong, and he is ready to accept punishment. He explains that what he needed was not underwear, but a pass. He wants to train in the Pangji Valley. Folding his hands in a pleading gesture, bringing his fist to his palm, he asks for permission to do so. The father is a little puzzled. Pangji Valley. And that's all? For a few moments, he looks thoughtfully at his son. The man says that in a year he will take the test. Can't he wait? Namgun Cha-woon disapproves of this. Henho is upset. Everything turned out to be not as simple as he thought. But he can't afford to back down. The father asks the son, is it because of the competition next month? Henho only now remembers the competition, a gathering where young members of the Namgun clan compete to showcase their skills. Participants are those who have not reached 15 years old. But due to severe losses caused by inadequate use of martial arts, there are usually few participants. They may be trained, but they are still children. Psychological traumas can arise during such tournaments. The boy remembers that because of this, he was completely defeated in a sparring competition. He mentally returns again to that unfortunate day and sees the face of his opponent. A wooden sword is aimed at the low-bowed head. The sullen and devastated Henho sits on the ground. Blood streams from his nose in thin lines. The opponent towers over him, gripping the sword in his hand. On the youth's face is a disgusted and at the same time contemptuous grimace. Henho thinks it was terrible. He never won once. The father says that Jen Woon is a year older than him, so this will be his last competition. The boy agrees with him. Yes, that's right. He admits that he was not good enough. 3 famous brothers of the clan branch, the eldest of whom is Gen Woon. Despite his incredible talent, he hated Henho for the restrictions present in the clan branch. Sometimes Henho even felt the desire of Jen Woon to kill him. He remembers their fight, thinking that he felt that urge in him back then too. He read it in the gaze of Jen Woon, fiercely wielding the blade. Henho remembers how he retreated before the enemy's onslaught, but the enemy intensified the pressure, and he was stopped only by splashes of blood. General Vun's attacks showed no mercy, but now there is a huge difference in experience between them. Henho is confident that he will not lose. He thinks that revenge and competitive spirit are suitable motives. The guy says that this time he wants to win. Resolutely raising his chin, he adds that he wants to prove he is worthy to be the head of Namgun. The guy's hand clenches into a fist. He asks his father for permission, trying to do it in the most resolute voice possible. He asks his father to allow him to train in the Pangji Valley. Namgun Cha-woon is immersed in thought, pleadingly folding his hands and closing his eyes. The boy wonders why his father does not answer. He thinks he must be more desperate and press harder on pity. He must reach the heart of Namgun Cha-woon. The guy even wants to squeeze tears out of himself. He's ready for anything, since it is necessary. Henho orders himself to remember the day his father died. He mentally returns to that sorrowful day. Next to him stands his crying sister. Henho then could not afford such weakness. Tears flow from his eyes. The tears he could not shed back then. Tears are streaming down his eyes like hail. He thinks, isn't this too much? The father's hand falls on the boy's shoulder. Henho realizes with horror that he cannot stop the flow of tears. Namgun Cha-woon says that the son must have experienced a lot of stress. The man adds that he used his busyness as an excuse, neglecting him in Hwa-rin. The father asks for forgiveness. Henho raises tear-filled eyes to him. Namgun Cha-woon says, surely the time of his leadership has weighed heavily on his son. The father understands that the son wants to become stronger as quickly as possible, but he believes that impatience ruins everything. He says that Henho has great talent and should trust himself more. Let him always think well first, then act. The guy mentally exclaims, Father! Namgun Cha-woon believes that the guy's determination is firm. Therefore, he will allow him to enter the Pangji Valley. Henho rejoices. His plan worked. The man immediately adds that, although this is related to preparation for the competition, it does not excuse his mistakes. As punishment, he will rewrite the clan charter 100 times and apologize to the victim. And, despite the fact that Henho defeated the man with a pass, he will not let one of them go. He adds that he will allow the guy to enter the Pangji Valley only accompanied by guards. This news stuns Henho. The guy says that the father is his guard. Will he really go with him? He is too busy. Henho adds, if the father does this, then his personal guard will go with them, and that will be very burdensome. He assures that he can handle it himself. Smiling, Namgun Chawun replies that he will not go. Someone stronger than him will accompany his son. The guy looks puzzled at his father. Someone stronger than him? But there is no such person in their clan. Suddenly he is enlightened. He asks Namgun Chawun, will his mother go with him? The man laughs, then answers that the son is right. He adds that he will never be able to defeat his mother, only perhaps in the afterlife. Smiling, he asks, and why defeat someone you admire? Henho thinks that in the past, he covered his ears every time he heard something like that. He even wished that his parents had a bad relationship. He answers his father aloud, clear. He thinks that now these embarrassing words are even pleasant to hear. The boy says that if he admires someone, he will follow his father's example. Namgun Chawun explains that it is not himself, nor his mother, but also a person very close to him. And it is true that he is stronger than him. Fortunately, he is here now, and the son will be able to see for himself. Henho answers, yes, thinking at the same time. Who could it be? No one comes to his mind, and he decides that it will be better to meet this person if he is forced to go to the valley with him. The boy decides to definitely escape at the right moment, so as not to cause problems. He knows the Pangji Valley like the back of his hand. Henho continues to wonder, stronger than his father? It can't be. He thinks that his father lied to convince him. While the boy is lost in thought, the blond man examines their mansion. Henho thinks that he has obtained permission, so the rest is easy. He will just get rid of the companion on the way. He understands his father's worries, but in fact, he is far from being 14 years old. The boy realizes how important his mission is, to protect the Namgun clan, and he will not let anyone interfere with him. Remembering the cold eyes of Beck Jen, he thinks that he needs to become stronger as soon as possible. The father says, good, and suggests that the son follow him. The guy happily agrees, yes, he is ready. Henho's eyes become round with surprise. While the father suggests he say hello, the guy cannot take his eyes off the blond, poorly dressed man. Namgun Chawun introduces him. This is Mughal Han. He is escorting Henho to the Pangji Valley. The guy looks confused. This strange man does not look like a strong man. He begins to get angry, wondering, what kind of beggar is this? Henho stands in the middle of the yard, looking at Mughal Han sitting under the canopy and the father standing next to him. He is surprised. And this is his protector? The guy does not remember this man at all. He has never seen him before. This beggar is stronger than Namgun Chawun and closer to him than the others. He thinks this is disgusting. For a while he looks confusedly at his father. Then the guy bows in greeting, saying his name is Henho. Mughal Han silently looks at him. A slight smile appears on his face. Looking at Namgun Chawun, he asks, is this the young master he is accompanying? The man confirms, yes, this is his son. Mughal Han laughs, rubbing his unshaven chin. He thinks that with such a naive face, the guy looks weak. He asks Namgun Chawun, is he sure the guy won't die as soon as he turns away from him? He adds that he is slightly inattentive. That's why he worries. Henho, covering his eyes, wonders, what kind of man is this? He is outraged that the other judges him while having such a worthless and sickly face. The guy mentally asks him, does he even know how strong he is despite his youth? Since early childhood, he took expensive medicine like ordinary food. He doesn't like all this. Mughal Han continues laughing at him, saying, well, if he dies, then fate has decided so. Nothing can be done about it. But since the guy is the son of Namgun Chawun, he will take good care of him. Smiling widely, He asks the young master to believe this. Henho decides, since he underestimates him so much, he will show him that he really doesn't need protection. Mentally he adds, especially from beggars like him. The guy draws his blade and demonstrates the Namgun's 10th sword technique. Mughal Han covers his eyes with his hand, shielding from the strong wind that hit them, along with Namgun Chawun. Surprise is red in his gaze. He exclaims, "What? How could Henho use such a strong wind sword technique?" Grinning, the guy explains that this is the 10th sword Namgun. Henho says he was worried because his weak skills reflected poorly on his father's reputation, so he allowed himself to be rude. He assures that he definitely won't die if his companion turns away from him, so he shouldn't worry about that. He finishes presenting his skills, thinking that this won't do. He doesn't want to lose all his energy for such a stupid reason. Who knows what will happen in the valley? Mughal Han asks Namgun Chawun, "Can they leave right now?" The man replies that they will ask Henho about it and decide everything. The guy is upset, realizing that his father really wants to send him with this vagabond. He is forced to accept it. The fact that he is even going means much more to him. Henho thinks that since this is his father's choice, this person might be stronger than he looks. Looking at his companion, he decides to be more careful and not relax. Mughal Han picks his nose with his finger. The guy looks at him puzzled, wondering, and where exactly is he a fighter? Henho thinks, no matter how you look at it, he is just a street beggar. He shifts his gaze to his smiling father. Mughal Khan unexpectedly quickly appears near him, saying that he can see from his face what he is thinking. The young master does not like him. Isn't that so? Then he adds, "It is rare to encounter such open disgust in the great Namgun clan." Mughal Khan, smiling, says that it might be more fun than he thought. Stretching his lips into a smile, the guy mentally assures him, not at all. Laughing, he says that it is a misunderstanding. Henho thinks that he was surprised by the unexpected appearance of the vagabond, but one must not forget his goal. Folding his hands in an apologetic gesture, covering his fist with his palm, he adds that he must have seemed rude, but in reality, he just doesn't want to trouble anyone because of his training. The guy, smiling diligently, mentally rejoices that his companion is not from the Namgun clan and does not know the Pangi Valley. He believes he just needs to escape from him at the right moment and hopes to do so before they reach the valley, as the road is difficult. So he has that opportunity. Stretching, Mughal Khan says, "Good. If everything is already ready, then he suggests setting off sooner." Henho responds with a hoot, mentally asking him just not to interfere. The house of the manager of the Pangi Valley, a small wooden building surrounded by trees. Bloodstains are visible on the wooden floor. Henho moves swiftly, pushing himself to the limit of his abilities, mentally cursing and marveling at how fast his companion is. Mughal Han seems to glide through the air over the forest path completely effortlessly. The sweating guy remembers how the man suggested playing tag with him. He tried to slip away while his companion wasn't looking, but he immediately noticed his trick. Henho wonders, so his father was right after all? Trying not to fall behind Mughal Han, he mentally scolds himself. He told himself not to relax, and yet he did, stopping and brushing sweat from his forehead. Henho thinks that the man probably underestimated him too. The guy remembers the medicine he took from the supplies before going to his father's chambers. Henho decides to take the pill now. Meanwhile, Mughal Han stops and looks back. Mentally, he curses. He ran so fast that he lost sight of his ward. Listening to his sensations, he realizes that the other used Fengso medicine. He knows about it. It is low grade but quickly absorbed. The man concludes that the guy wants to deceive him and enter the valley alone. Mughal Han thinks that the guy's smile was the same as that of other members of the Namgun clan. He decides that all this is interesting to him, but at the same time very suspicious. He doesn't know why, but is sure that Henho is up to something. All this reminds the man of his childhood. He mentally asks the guy a question. Does he also have secrets like Mughal Han himself? In his memory, a youth in a blue caftan appears, kneeling. He raises his eyes, glowing with rage and defiance. Rain runs down his hair. A man lets out a scream. A little boy, who at that time was Mughal Han, peeks out from behind his back. Only one word slips from the child's lips. "Little brother." The man shrugs his shoulders, trying to get rid of the overwhelming emotions. He rushes back, lamenting that he got lost in thought and lost his ward. Smirking, he says he can easily find him again. Henho wonders, did he manage to break away? In any case, he does not see Mughal Han. So this is his chance. He decides to increase the gap for certainty. Using internal energy, the boy swiftly moves among the trees. Henho assesses his enhanced abilities. The step is small, but the acceleration is simply incredible. This is his maximum for now. Stopping, he scratches the back of his head, realizing that the true thunder step of the celestial feels like a lightning strike. But with such a body, he can only move like this. Recalling the unsightly appearance of Mughal Han, the boy is surprised by his speed. He wonders, is the man a master of some beggar's sect? Henho is forced to admit that he's still lost. This surprises him. How so, with his skills? Even in a young body, he couldn't outpace the vagabond. The guy thinks that there is just a little left before entering the valley. At that moment, Mughal Han lands behind him. The man says he is lucky that the guy did not take detours. Smiling, he adds that Henho's technique resembles the thunder step of the celestial. Mughal Han believes that the speed is certainly slow, but the technique is similar. He says that it is strange. The man asks, he was not supposed to be taught this, so how does he know it? Henho looks at him puzzled. He did not expect such knowledge from the man. In horror, the guy recoils from Mughal Han, asking, how does he know about the thunder step of the celestial? Not everyone in the Namgun clan can use it correctly. The man inquires, didn't Chawun tell him? He is also a member of the Namgun clan. Or rather, he was. He was expelled, so he is no longer among them. The guy, trying to escape from his companion again, stops near a tree. Catching his breath, he thinks, not just a beggar, but a cast-out beggar? Even worse. Suddenly, Henho remembers something. Facing the trunk, the guy says, he remembers hearing about a weirdo who was expelled from the clan for using forbidden techniques. But as far as he remembers, there were rumors that this person became an alcoholic and died. He heard all this in his past life, so now, Henho is sure that this man should already be lying in the grave. Behind him comes a shout, "Hey!" The guy sharply turns, raising his hand to strike. In front of him stands Mughal Han, trying to ask him a question. What happened? But the sharp reaction of the subordinate does not let him finish. For some time, they silently look at each other. Then the man says, maybe he is shameless, but such a reaction offends him. Henho asks, Namgun Jill from Phantom Sword, right? But he heard that the man died long ago. Mughal Han, lowering his eyes, answers, yes, that's right. He almost died. But he didn't, he adds. If they hadn't helped him then, he definitely would have kicked the bucket. Henho looks at him in amazement. He wonders, who could have helped the man? Henho thinks, if in the past life he was alive, it's impossible that he, the head of the Namgun clan, didn't know about it. He is sure that the man was definitely dead. But now Mughal Han is alive, and this is an indisputable fact that he is forced to admit. And that means the past has changed. If the past changes, it turns out that the present and the future also. The house of the valley manager of Pangi, a shaved-headed man standing amid the chaos reigning in the house, says, brother, then asks, didn't they say that young Master Namgun would arrive here? His interlocutor says, they did. Striking the floor with a bloodied club, he asks again, isn't he late? Maybe he has learned? Holding his head, the bald man adds, that they are waiting for him. Glancing at the blood-splattered walls and the corpses of people, he continues, and they killed the real rulers. The smiling woman suggests going to meet him. Henho still tries to say something, but suddenly freezes with his mouth slightly open. Mughal Han, looking at him, is surprised by his reaction. He thinks the guy is quite strange. Henho wonders, is it because he was caught? Will the Namgun family be okay in the future? Mughal Han mockingly says. The guy pretends to worry about the future of the Namgun family, But actually, he doesn't care. The man thinks about how much he is annoyed by watching the children. If it weren't for Cha Woon, he remembers the head of the Namgun clan asking him to look after his son. Scratching the back of his head, the man thinks, since he agreed to take the expensive liquor, he has no other choice now. If it weren't for that, Mughal Han admits that, after all, this is more interesting than he thought. The man looks around in surprise. Huh? He says with surprise. Has this dream guy disappeared? Mughal Khan thinks that he is losing vigilance because he is dealing with a child. He sighs. How it irritates him. Moving forward, the man says, "Well, I'll have to look for him again. What could happen to him in such a short time?" Henho, meanwhile, moves swiftly through the forest, occasionally looking back. Mentally, the guy curses. He has to go against a member of the Namgun family. Because of this, he loses territorial advantage. He steps on a branch, and it breaks under his foot. Henho mentally urges himself to keep calm. Henho feels that someone is near him. He thinks someone is close. Then he realizes that it's not quite so. The guy continues to move swiftly through the forest. Then he stops and listens. Henho realizes that this someone is beneath him. He barely manages to jump aside as a clawed hand bursts out from the ground. The guy soars high above the ground, looking down where someone's hand is visible, emerging from the earth. He lands and immediately does a somersault over his head. Henho shouts, "Who's there?" A head appears from underground. Soon a woman appears before him. She says, "Nice to meet you." Folding her hands in a greeting gesture, she introduces herself, saying her name is Namgun Hwa, and she is responsible for the Pangi Valley. The woman greets the young man, calling him young master. Henho asks, "What was that sudden attack?" Besides, as far as he knows, this place is watched over by a middle-aged couple. The woman replies that she is their daughter and manages this place on behalf of her parents. The ambush was set up to test his skills for entering the Pangi Valley, so he should take it with understanding. The young man thinks this was an entrance test. So it's true that the managers have a daughter. Suddenly he realizes that this person is lying to him. He has already seen this face in a past life, and the real manager is most likely dead. Mentally, Henho curses. He never expected to meet this person here. This is the Mad Killer. He knows his name. His name is Chak Salang. He killed many men, especially young ones, just because he hated them. He hated men so much that, according to rumors, he eventually castrated himself. In short, crazy. Henho thinks that he does not see his companion, but usually he is always near him. He wonders, where is he hiding? He is trying to understand why, among so many guys, Chak Salang chose him specifically. This man is crazy, but definitely not an idiot. Henho understands that with his current skills, he will not be able to defeat Chak Salanga. Therefore, he needs to find a way to escape. His hand clenches into a fist. If he had known this would happen, he would not have run away from Mughal Khan. He wonders, last time the companion caught up with him so quickly. Why is he so delayed this time? Meanwhile, Mughal Khan, standing among the trees, thinks, if you look at it this way, the guy should be somewhere nearby. But if you move in the wrong direction, he will never reach the goal. He examines the land, wondering, was it here? On the left? The man thinks this is his first time since he was exiled, so he remembers poorly. Throwing his hands behind his head, he asks, maybe here, and decides to move at random. Meanwhile, Chak Salang asks, is the guy here in the Pangi Valley for the first time? Then he adds that usually one can enter here only after 15 years. Turning his back to him, the Mad Killer says, the mastery of the martial art Henho has surpassed even the rules of the Namgun clan. He's growing very fast. Chak Salang, laughing, adds that in a couple of years he will become an excellent man. Henho thinks that for the first time a compliment makes him uncomfortable. The guy wonders, why is Chak Salang pretending and has not killed him yet? He is strong enough to have no weak spots, even with his back turned to him. Following him, Henho reflects, and is heading down this road as well. Noticing some movement in the bushes, the guy thinks, if only some wild animal would appear and distract him. He sees a blond boy pressing a red fruit to his chest. The guy cannot hide his surprise. Before him stands a poorly dressed young Beck Jen. Henho remembers the day when Beck Jen pointed a sword at him. The guy sees again how they argue, and in a fit of anger he grabs Beck Jen by the chest. He relives the anger that once made him jump up from the table and shout at the blonde youth standing before him. He mentally returns to the days when they trained and fought with swords together. Henho recalls how Beck Jen was picked up like a puppy and brought into the clan. He was as poorly dressed as he is now, but all his memories are crossed out by blood. It washes away from his memory all the good moments that were in their lives. Henho stands as if struck by lightning, unable to look away from the blonde boy in ragged clothes. The guy wonders, why is he here? Suddenly, Chak Salang grabs Beck Jen by the chest and shouts angrily, calling him a rat kid. That means he was here, disguised as a woman. The mad killer says that he suddenly disappeared, and she couldn't find him. He asks, maybe Beck Jen's eyes should be gouged out so he would be more obedient. The blonde boy closes his eyes fearfully. Chak Salang remembers that this conversation has a witness. Looking embarrassed, he apologizes, explaining that this is a servant. He disappeared without saying anything. Chak Salang adds that, you can't take your eyes off the boy, and wraps a chain around his wrists. The mad killer suggests moving on. The guy mentally curses. He had a chance to escape, but he was so surprised he couldn't even move. His gaze falls on Beck Jen, trembling all over. The guy thinks that in his past life, he wandered the streets until Cha Woon found him and took him in as a guest in their family. Now, Beck Hyun is the servant of a killer, and he believes he deserved such a fate. Moreover, Henho does not even feel any energy in it. With such weak energy, Beck Jen cannot even hope to learn martial arts, let alone live a long life. He understands that the young man has little time left. It's a miracle he is still alive. Before Henho's mental gaze stands an adult, Beck Jen, holding a blood-stained sword in his hand. Around him lie the bodies of the people he killed, and all his clothes are stained with blood. Warriors of the Namgun clan rush at him, seeking to avenge their comrades. Without raising his head and hiding his face behind long strands of hair, Beck Jen utters, revenge. The warrior swings the blade, shouting, die! Beck Jen easily dodges, then freezes. The tip of the enemy's blade touches his throat. He looks coldly straight into the warrior's eyes. The hand of the warrior holding the sword begins to tremble. Under the influence of Beck Jen's inner power, the blade shatters into pieces. He looks at the skinny hands of the young man, bound by a chain. Henho thinks that in his previous life his body was extraordinarily strong, but perhaps it was all because of karma. The guy is not pitied. The only thing he regrets is that he couldn't finish him off with his own hands. He decides that, as soon as he gets out of here, he will make sure the final blow is his. Meanwhile, Chak Salang announces that they have arrived at the entrance to the Pangi Valley. Pointing with his hand at the dark cave, the fake Namgun Hua adds, if he continues walking, he will reach the valley. Henho recalls that the Pangi Valley has two entrances. One leads to the usual cliff, and the other entrance leads to a cave whose walls are teeming with poisonous snakes. Only an exceptional martial arts master can pass through there. Chak Salang brought him to the snake entrance. The guy thinks bitterly. If he had the skills from his past life, he would have managed. But now, his chance of survival is very small. Henho realizes that the killers want to get rid of him without getting their hands dirty. He finds it strange that they know so much about the Namgun family, about him, and about the Pangi Valley. He thinks they were paid for this. His thoughts are interrupted by a sharp jerk. A bald-headed man, holding the guy by the collar so that his feet do not touch the ground, asks, why so long? Then he addresses Henho. He went the whole way himself, so now they will just throw him in there. Henho mentally curses again. He feels completely helpless. Chak Salang, holding the end of the chain to which Beck Jen is tied, says, it's funny to watch the reaction of the young master. He is so impatient, and that is his downfall. In any case, since they need to punish the runaway dog, it was worth coming back. The guy asks, what the hell is this? Who are they? Leaning his smiling face toward him, the fake Namgun Hua asks, what is he talking about? They just showed him the way. They came and it's time for him to go inside. Laughing, the mad killer says that he would like, of course, to see how his body will be pierced by holes from snake fangs. But alas, snakes with open mouths click their scarlet tongues. Mughal Han yawns desperately. Leaving the cave, the man says that he dozed off a little. It's so cozy there. Everyone present is stunned by his appearance. Raising his index finger admonishingly, Mughal Han, who has a large snake hanging around his neck, says, "He is still the best, isn't he?" Mughal Han stands at the entrance to the cave, glowing with pride. A joyful expression appears on Henho's face. The phantom sword is alive. He gains hope for salvation. The guy thinks that it doesn't matter how strong these two are, into whose hands he fell. After all, his companion is one of the phantom swords. Beck Jen points with his finger to Mughal Han, indicating that he has a snake hanging on his neck. Mughal Han, trying to get rid of it, shouts in confusion. "What is happening?" Henho thinks. He's doing it on purpose. The bald man, whom Chak Salang calls Hu Yen, asks, "Who is this fool?" The mad killer wonders. Does he not understand at all? Before him is a master. Hu Yen is surprised. "What?" Chak Salang explains. Although he hides his power, he should not be underestimated. So let him be on guard. Anger literally radiates in waves from the imaginary Manhwa. Chak Salang thinks, of course, this boy is from the Namgun clan, and surely he is his protector. It doesn't matter. Now they have a hostage. The mad killer decides that he is already nauseated just by looking at this unshaven vagabond. The same one finds the imaginary Namgun Hua disgusting and wants to get rid of her immediately. He decides to give the young master the opportunity to free himself from her. Meanwhile, Chak Salang raises his hand with long nails. One of the nails lengthens incredibly. The elongated claw threateningly touches Henho's throat. The touch of such an unusual weapon makes the guy freeze. Chak Salang mockingly says, disdainfully calling Mughal Han Blondie, "Let him not dare move from his place. Otherwise the boy will die." Henho curses mentally. Mughal Han, finally freed from the snake, looks at them confused. He asks, "Is she sure she will kill the guy if he moves?" Really, if he moves? A flame of inner energy flashes in his eyes as he, rushing forward, says, "Kill!" The killers clearly did not expect such agility from him. Meanwhile, Mughal Han is already near Henho, touching with his finger a nail threateningly touching the guy's neck. He puts inner energy into his touch. Then Mughal Han makes a rotational movement with his fingers. Henho mentally urges him, "Faster!" He decides that he is already saved. Meanwhile, blood spurts from his throat. The guy is no longer very sure that he is saved. Mughal Han's actions raise questions for him. The man, meanwhile, smiling cheerfully, turns to Chak Salang, saying, "The guy will die if he moves. Isn't that what he said?" He touches the black long claw with his fingers again, asking, "Why does he need this?" The face of the fake Namgun Hua twists with anger. Mughal Han says, if he had done everything right, the young master's head would have been torn off by now. Henho is amazed. What? But why? Meanwhile, Mughal Han voices his guess. He understood everything, that one cannot kill the guy with his own hands. After all, he was previously looking for a way to get into the Namgun clan. Chak Salang is beside himself with anger. He wonders, is this man really the guy's protector? Although Mughal Han's clothing differs from what is worn in the Namgun clan, the mad killer mentally has to admit the truth of his words. He is right, and Chak Salang should not dirty his hands. It is too troublesome. He exchanges glances with his accomplice. Huyen raises the hand with which he holds Henho by the collar, and with the other pulls out from behind his back a glaive, a long mace with a blade attached to it. Chak Salang, from whom an ominous aura emanates, holding his hands with sharp claws in front of him, says, "First he will kill him, and then deal with the boy." The mad killer is already ready to act, but he is stopped by an exclamation. "Wait," Mughal Khan asks. "Are they trying to shove the guy into the cave so a snake bites him and he dies? Then they don't need to fight him." The man says that he also thought about leaving the young gentleman there. Chak Salang freezes in bewilderment, unable to believe what he heard. Henho tries to ask a question in raised intonations, but his voice breaks. More calmly now he asks, "What does this mean?" In an instant, Mughal Han snatches the guy from Hu Yen's hand, saying, "That is what it means." His palm, resting on the guy's head, radiates inner energy. With a strong throw, he hurls Henho behind his back. The boy's words reach him. He wants to leave Henho here. Sitting on the ground, the boy feels his throat, not believing that he has freed himself from the powerful grip of the bald man. Raising his eyes, he sees that he is in a cave, and Mughal Han stands at the entrance, looking at him. Holding his throat with his hand, the boy closes his eyes, refusing to believe what is happening. Mughal Han strikes the rock with his hand, causing stones to start falling. He stands with his hands behind his back, watching as the stones block the cave's exit. Smiling, the man says that he will lock him up. Henho looks at him in horror. He does not understand why he treated him that way. Soon, Mughal Han remains standing in front of a pile of stones that completely cover the entrance. Stunned by everything that happened, the boy continues to sit on the cave floor, not believing what is happening. Henho thinks that the entrance is blocked. Mughal Han really locked it. He remembers the man's smile at the moment when the cave entrance was being covered with stones. Mentally, the boy showers Mughal Han with curses. He is beside himself with anger. Father gave him a chance to help the family. The guy cannot believe that Mughal Han allowed the killers to slit his throat. He wonders, is this revenge? Or has the man really gone mad, if the rumors are to be believed? But now, all this is irrelevant. The guy thinks he must find the strength within himself to get out. Anger and despair overwhelm him, and Henho shouts with all his might that he is the head of the Namgun clan. He shouts that he was the head in a past life and will be in this one. He does not deserve such treatment. The guy wants to add something else, but chokes on a bloody cough. He presses his palm to his throat again. Henho feels his strength is running out. He coughs up blood again and realizes he won't last long. The guy orders himself to calm down. He sits in the lotus position and sinks into meditation. Mentally, Henho repeats to himself again and again, "Calm down." His body is enveloped by a light mist of aura. He remembers that when Mughal Han picked him up, he somehow affected him. He seems to feel the man's fingers touching his head again, and understands. This is why his emotions are so uncontrollable right now. The guy thinks that it is not so easy to take him out of commission. Continuing to meditate, he thinks, it's like unraveling a ball of yarn. Gradually, the bluish aura around him becomes denser. His gaze falls on the debris, and he begins to understand what is happening. But his thoughts are interrupted by Beck Jen appearing from behind a huge boulder. The boy timidly peeks out from behind the stone. Henho is stunned by his appearance. He exclaims angrily, "You?" Meanwhile, the guy notices that when he gets angry, his strength begins to wane. But when he sees the boy's face, he cannot restrain himself. The waves of anger emanating from him are almost tangible. Henho tightly closes his eyes, deciding not to give in. From the effort applied, the wound on his throat starts bleeding again. Beck Jen looks at him fearfully. Seeing blood flowing from the wound, he immediately rushes to Henho, extending a hand forward that radiates internal energy. Beck Jen leans toward the guy, and his hand rests on Henho's shoulder. The guy, exerting his own chi, pushes him away from himself. The boy, flying back several steps, hits his back against a boulder. Beck Jen coughs and blood spurts from his mouth. Henho, sitting on the cave floor with clenched fists, thinks, did he succeed? Raising his hand to his throat, he realizes that the bleeding has stopped. Glancing at Beck Jen, he thinks, it's because he passed it to him. The boy sits on the floor, and streams of blood flow from his mouth, staining his clothes. Henho thinks he is lucky. Then he wonders, did Beck Jen try to help him? No, that can't be. They are not that well acquainted. But even if that is so, how many people have fallen in the Namgun clan? Even if he dies 1,000 times, it will not be enough. Approaching the boy sitting on the floor, he crouches down, and, grabbing his hair, lifts his head so that his face is visible. Henho assumes that he ran here, while Chak Salang was distracted. Beck Jen looks pitiful. It seems he doesn't have long to live. Blood flows from his slightly open mouth onto his chest. Henho, examining him, thinks that the boy's tongue was cut out. and several times with a dull blade. Imagining the adult Beck Jen, in whose body several swords are stuck, he thinks it looks pretty good. He remembers that he planned to kill Beck Jen slowly, causing as much pain as possible. But he can't do it now, otherwise he will waste his last strength. The guy did not suspect that they would meet so soon. Even now it is hard to believe. Henho thinks, even if everything goes wrong, if he can kill Beck Jen here, then his biggest problem will finally disappear. Standing over the boy curled up on the floor, he thinks that in the past life the boy lived and he died. This time it will be the opposite. Looking at Beck Jen with ill intent, he mentally adds that he will live, and the other will die. Beck Jen will die like a dog on the roadside. Meanwhile, Mughal Han, moving through the air, follows the killers who do not understand why he has tagged along. He says he wonders if Chak Salang is a girl or still a guy. Mughal Han explains that he can't resist when he has questions. Chak Salang, looking back with hatred, glares at him, shouting for him to get lost. Hu Yen, seeing that Chak Salang might not hold back, says they need to leave, not fight. The Mad Killer replies that they have achieved their goal. The rest is nothing to worry about. Hu En warns him. If they continue, they will lose a lot of strength. He suggests dropping it all and leaving. He swears, realizing that his companion does not want to listen to him. Chak Salang, approaching Mughal Khan, says that people like him are better avoided. A hand with black claws reaches out to him, slightly stepping back to avoid contact with Chak Salanga's limb. Mughal Khan exclaims, "But he just saw him in action, and still underestimates him." Smiling, he adds how fast he can be. The man easily dodges the attacks of the Mad Killer. Then, grabbing his hand by the wrist, Mughal Khan says that he himself has confirmed that they are idiots. Hu Yen shouts a warning, intercepting the shaft of his weapon, and wishing to help his accomplice. Chak Salang asks him not to interfere. The Mad Killer says he will take care of everything himself, and he can go. Hu Yen tries to object, but Chak Salang interrupts him. Waves of anger emanate from the imaginary Manhwa. Chak Salang reminds, he already said he would take care of it. This puppy is his, and he can leave. Addressing his friend, he says the guy is stronger than they thought, and while he deals with him, Hu Yen should take care of the cave. Chak Salang asks Mughal Khan, he doesn't mind if they stay alone? The man answers, of course he doesn't mind at all. Hu Yen immediately disappears as if he was never there. The Mad Killer thinks, it seems he got caught, and warns the man not to even think about running away. It's useless. Continuing to hold his hand, Mughal Han asks, or what? Will he call Hu Yen? Mughal Khan says that judging by the thickness, smoothness, and moisture of the wrist, Chak Salang is a girl. He shouts after the departing Hu Yen. Why does he address her as if she were a guy? Chak Salang, pulling back his hand, shouts indignantly, what does smoothness, moisture mean? He is a man, Mughal Han asks. Does she deny her gender? In response, he hears, not true. The Mad Killer says he grew up a man, only his physical features changed due to certain circumstances. This is just a side effect during the accomplishment of a feat. Mughal Khan says, interesting. And how did it happen? Chak Salang answers, when he studied the secret technique passed down from the imperial palace. Mentally, he calls Hu Yen. He continues to explain to Mughal Khan that instead of lost manliness, he gained strength, even though his sexual characteristics changed. Mentally, Chak Salang orders his accomplice. When he looks up, he must ambush. Lowering his head, Chak Salang clarifies, more precisely, they did not change, but slightly transformed, continuing to explain that it is hard to describe in words, and therefore easier to show. The Mad Killer mentally tells Hu Yen, who is hiding behind a tree, that they have only one chance and orders him to get ready. Pulling the neckline of his clothes down a little, Chak Salang shows Mughal Honu that he has female breasts. He asks, is this technique, by any chance, from the silky flower? Tucking the clothes against his chest, the astonished Chak Salang exclaims, how does he know? At this time, behind Mughal Khan, Hu Yen appears, raising a weapon above his head. The man says that he invented this technique, Chak Salang shouts to his accomplice to stop. Henho hears some sound and becomes alert. Looking back, he shouts, "How did he get so close so fast?" He asks Beck Jen, standing behind him. He healed him. But does he still have the strength to use the technique? The blonde boy silently looks at him. Henho gets angry and mentally curses. He's saved by Beck Jen. Not someone else, but him. The exhausted Beck Jen, staggering, stands before him. Henho thinks that very soon he will get rid of him. He thinks it would be fun to watch him die from a snake bite. Henho stops at this thought. Wait, snake? Maybe if he lures it, he can buy some time. The guy decides to use the thunderstep technique, first throwing Beck Jen against the wall. He wonders, is this a good idea? Scratching the back of his head, he thinks he will kill 2 birds with 1 stone, also avenging Beck Jen. He is impressed with himself, really. And where did he get so smart? Looking at Beck Jen sitting on the floor, he decides it's better not to waste time and deal with him right now. For a few moments, he contemplates his plan. Then Henho, deciding there is no other way, reaches out his hand to Beck Jen. He decides to prolong his life for a short time. Very short. Very. The guy, turning away from the boy who got up, thinks about how he wants to kill him every second of every day. He feels a cautious touch. Turning his head back, he shouts angrily, "What?" Beck Jen is lost in the negative emotions pouring down on him. Then smiling, he shows the guy a bitten mushroom. Still angry, Henho speaks negatively about his thinking abilities, adding that it is a poisonous mushroom and it cannot be eaten. But then, looking at the bitten red cap of the mushroom, he has a sudden realization. He grabs Beck Jen by the chest and, shaking him, asks, "Is this a bite mark? Has he already bitten?" Out of his mind with rage, Henho shouts that he saved his life. So why is he trying to die again? Grabbing the boy by the chest and shaking him desperately, the guy demands, "Spit it out." But from Beck Jen's eyes, it is clear that he is already dying. Henho spits out angrily, holding Beck Jen by his clothes. If he falls now, it will cause him extra trouble. Looking at the boy's pale face with closed eyes, he thinks that, in any case, he is useless. An unexpected sound makes the guy freeze. He releases Beck Jen's clothes from his hands. Henho realizes that there is something in the dark. He wonders, a snake? Beck Jen falls to the floor of the cave, spreading his arms wide. Listening cautiously, the guy thinks, did the snake smell the blood? He understands. To quickly get to the exit, he needs to use the step of the celestial. Henho thinks, and how can he do that? From the darkness, a snake's head appears with glowing red eyes. With its mouth wide open, it attacks the guy. Henho barely manages to recoil, and the snake's body flies past him. With horror, the guy sees that several snakes are already approaching him. Raising his eyes, he sees numerous snake bodies sliding along the high wall, rushing towards him. Henho decides that he will have to use the lightning strike technique. The noise behind him makes the guy sharply turn around. He sees Beck Jen rising from the floor. Standing in front of the guy, Beck Jen spreads his arms wide and starts waving them like wings. Henho is amazed by his behavior, not even knowing what to think. He believes that his mind has been clouded by poisonous mushrooms. Then the guy freezes in surprise. What? Is that what he thinks? Namgun's son, from the Namgun clan branch, asks, "What about Chak Salang and Henho?" The man standing before his desk says, as soon as Chak Salang led Henho to the cave exit, Mughal Han appeared. Namgun's son's aura reddens with barely restrained anger. "Mughal Han?" The man replies, "Yes." He placed Henho in the cave and blocked the entrance. Namgun's son laughs. That idiot still does whatever he wants. He recalls how in his youth Mughal Han laughed, pushing him to the ground. He laughed so hard that tears flowed from his eyes. Only in the eyes of the young man standing nearby, the young Cha Woon, who was observing this scene, did he see sympathy. Namgun's son forcefully puts the cup down on the table. Mentally addressing Namgun Cha Woon, he asks, is he sure he did not accept a spy into his clan? Then he tells Mughal Han that Cha Woon, whom he picked up on the street and brought into his home, has always been like that, even though he pretends to be wise and kind in front of others. The man would be confident in his son Genwoon, But Henho definitely will not survive in the snake cave. He triumphantly finishes his thought. Because origin matters. Because Jen Woon is a true master, and Henho is only a student. Namgun's son is sure that his son, who is full of strength for the future of Namgun, must become the leader of the clan. Therefore, Henho must die in that cave no matter what. The cup shatters in his hand into small shards, spilling the remaining liquid inside onto the table. Wiping his hands with a handkerchief, Namgun-san gives the man an order. Let him go and tell Chok Salang to check Henho's body. If he wants to get what he desires, he must do everything properly, and to the very end. The man bows his head in a bow and replies, I obey. Henho, standing behind Beck Jen, realizes that the snakes do not go any further. The boy wonders, did his strange movements really work? He thinks, or maybe it's all mushrooms. But seeing a bitten mushroom lying on the floor in a pile of snake bodies, he realizes that his assumption is incorrect. Henho continues to think, then why? A snake coils around his leg. Losing balance and falling, he mentally exclaims, again. They are approaching again. He orders himself to think faster. Tightly closing his eyes, he thinks that he needs to come up with a way to get rid of them as soon as possible. Standing surrounded by snakes, he mentally adds, and then sneak to the exit. He feverishly tries to find a way out of the situation. But no matter how hard the guy strains, nothing sensible comes to his mind yet. Desperately waving his arms, Beck Jen looks back at him. Henho waves his hand, saying, get rid of the snakes. He's struck by an idea. No, he doesn't need to get rid of them. Raising his bent elbows to shoulder level, he mentally adds, they will have to get rid of him. He tries to imagine himself as a predatory bird, feared by snakes. The guy understands that the snakes stopped because Beck Jen's movements resembled wing flaps. A spark of realization flashes in his eyes. They reminded them of the movements of their sworn enemy, tearing their skin with sharp claws and pecking out their insides. It's a falcon. He needs to turn into a falcon. They say that martial arts began with imitation. Tiger, monkey, crane, mantis, and others. The path of martial arts development lay through the ideology of Sanhengwon, imitation of the image and behavior of animals. The valley was the place where training in this ideology took place. Henho remembers that he was also one of the students. The gray-bearded elder, his teacher, said that studying martial arts is something more than just performing exercises. The guy's trembling hand rests on the ground, and the teacher tells him that it is important to understand the foundation. If the head is filled with thoughts, there is no room left for something new. Henho is in a plank position, and several heavy logs lie on his back. The old man standing nearby says, therefore, the master's consciousness must be pure. The guy thinks he would first free himself from the burden. Closing his eyes, he mentally says, it was terrible, and it will happen again. But thanks to this experience, he is who he is. Henho stands on a cliff. Finally, he has reached the Pangi Valley. Looking down, he thinks, still an amazing sight. In his head flashes, if you fall from such a height, it is certain death, and not a single bone will be found. And that means his thoughts are interrupted by Beck Jen coming out of the cave. With a lightning-fast movement, the guy grabs him by the chest. Henho finishes his thought, and that means this option suits him perfectly. Lifting Beck Jen, he adds, no more use from him. Raising his fist to strike, he continues the thought, and there is no point in leaving him alive either. Smiling Mughal Han easily holds the blade of the glaive with 2 fingers, barely avoiding being cut in 2. Without looking back at Huen, he says, they said it would only take a few minutes. Then adds, if they can't keep promises. Huen tries to free his weapon, but he fails. Meanwhile, Mughal Han finishes the started phrase. Then you shouldn't throw them around. He forcefully throws Huen far back, and he flies past Chok Salang. The Mad Killer thinks, what an extraordinary technique. And that means, in a voice, Chok Salang says, he really uses forbidden techniques. Carelessly stretching, Mughal Han says, that's right. However, his skills are not perfect. The original manuscripts describing the techniques have long disappeared. Only a copy compiled by him from the remaining notes remains. Addressing Chak Salang, he adds that he did not even know that he had changed gender. But he congratulates him. The mad killer is furious. He grits his teeth. What the hell is Mughal Han copying techniques for? The man replies that he just wanted to stand out, and just in case, use different hieroglyphs, not like in the original. He tells how he replaced one hieroglyph with another, and adds that anyone smart enough can easily distinguish them from each other. Chak Salang gets even angrier. He is even shaking with rage. Hu Yen, standing nearby, silently looks at him. The mad killer, barely restraining himself, asks, how can he change his gender back? He says there is no point in living like this if there is no chance to be the strongest. Mughal Han answers, no way, it is impossible. He advises Chak Salang to forget about it and become a full-fledged woman. However, he can still help him. What does he say to that? The fist of Han He rushes towards Beck Jen's face, but freezes before reaching the target. The blonde boy, squinting, trembles with fear. The guy is unable to utter a word. He barely squeezes out, "You." Then shaking Beck Jen, he pushes him away, and at that moment the boy's clothes fly open, revealing his torso, on which a zigzag scar similar to that of Henho himself is visible. The guy looks at the scar with amazement. He cannot take his eyes off his body, continuing to clutch the edges of his kaftan in his hands. Now he understands why he had that strange feeling. There are quite a few traces of healed wounds on the boy's body. But what is this? The scar on Beck Jen's stomach is exactly the same as Henho's. The guy is afraid even to make assumptions about this, and demands an answer from Beck Jen. What is he? Let him answer immediately. He continues shaking the boy, demanding an answer from him. Finally, he remembers that Beck Jen's tongue is cut off, and he cannot say anything to him. He lets the boy go and tries to pull himself together. Henho punches the rock with his fist, but it does not calm him down. He hardly feels any pain. He starts delivering blow after blow, thinking to himself, if that's the case, then Beck Jen cannot die right now. Finally, the guy stops and tries to put his thoughts in order. He thinks that every time he wants to kill him, a reason appears not to do it. How does Beck Jen manage this? Henho curses loudly, not understanding what is happening. Finally, he exhales wearily. Henho thinks he needs to calm down. A series of troubles, and meeting this youngster prematurely should not affect his condition. He decides that he needs to go further and get as much information as possible. With these thoughts, he rushes forward. Sitting down, he thinks that this time he will get there faster because he knows a shortcut. Clutching a liana in his hand, he continues to ponder. But if he cannot get any clues, then he decides that in that case, he will gut Beck Jen completely. Meanwhile, the boy presses his back to the rock in horror, spreading his arms wide. Mentally, Henho adds, until then, he must neither escape nor die. Struggling along a narrow ledge and clutching the sheer rock with his hands, Henho is confident that if necessary, he will gut Beck Jen, and also that in the valley, he will find answers to all questions. More precisely, he places great hopes on the sacred manuscript located in the valley. Beck Jen follows him. The guy thinks he needs to learn about the procession. In the valley is the secret archive of the Namgun clan, with many writings, and there he will surely be able to learn more about the procession. This is the name of a technique that reverses actions. Henho reflects on the fact that this is not just a description of techniques. Otherwise, why hide the manuscript in the valley? Maybe someone from the Namgun clan was able to reverse not only actions, but also time. Jumping from one peak of narrow stone ledges to another, he thinks that he needs to check this personally. Beck Jen, trembling with fear, and tied to Henho with a long vine, follows him, but the boy cannot jump so boldly. He struggles to move by crawling, afraid to stand on his feet. Chak Salang asks, "Help! Why does he need this? What benefit is there for him?" Smiling, Mughal Han explains, in every person there is yin and yang energy. The amount depends on the biological sex of the person. The interesting thing is that changes in the body occur when the balance between yin and yang is disturbed, revealing feminine or masculine energy. and he is curious about the percentage ratio of yin and yang in Chak Salang right now. He adds, that is secondly. Then, becoming serious, he says, and firstly, he is interested in who stands behind them. The mad killer silently looks at him. Carelessly stretching, Mughal Han says that he has a guess, but he wants to know for sure. Chak Salang shouts angrily, Who is he? Mughal Han, with his usual smile, answers, He? He used to be a member of the Namgun clan, but he began studying forbidden techniques, and for that, he was expelled. Saying all this, he slowly approaches Chak Salang, and when he gets close to him, he shouts right in his face that he is Mughal Han. Then, laughing, he adds that he is the protector of young master Henho. Chak Salang looks angrily at the man. Mughal Han says, the head of the Namgun clan knows that the young master is in danger. Therefore, he was asked to be by his side. He says that a clan is a family. And in a family, it is customary to take care of each other. Mughal Han asks, they also work on behalf of the clan, don't they? Chak Salang asks, protector, is the guy his nephew or something? The man replies, he never thought that Chak Salang would stoop so low. Mughal Han says, snakes. If the master really dies because of them, then there will be no one to lead the clan. Chak Salang mentally calls him an idiot. Mughal Han says that he introduced himself and answered the questions. He suggests ending it here. Either Chak Salang helps him or runs away again. And then, showing his fist, he adds that he will show him other forbidden techniques as well. Chak Salang suspected that some of the manuscripts he owns are forgeries. He believed the Namgun clan that they have the original. He continues to ponder. Perhaps even the clan itself only has copies of the manuscripts. In that case, they continue to stand on the forest path, measuring each other with their gazes. At the same time, they do not notice that a man sent by Namgun's son is watching them from behind the bushes. Namgun Cha-woon, clutching a pen in his hand, thinks that he has made an uncharacteristic mistake. He has a bad feeling. Henho is doing too well for his age. A sharp sound makes him interrupt his thoughts. Raising his eyes, he sees a woman who burst into his office. She asks, did he send Henho to the Pangi Valley? Cha-woon smiles blissfully, looking at her. She says that the boy doesn't even have his own sword yet. The man replies that with his skills, it is much safer to act without a sword. Besides, he has a protector. The woman exclaims, a protector? Yun-chen, mother of Henho and Hua-rin, says angrily, he entrusted the life of her son to a man who has defiled his own name? The man replies that, nevertheless, Henho is under protection, and his protector is skilled in martial arts. The woman objects. Is it not one thing to have high skills, and another to deserve trust? Yun-chen says that nothing can be changed anymore. However, if Henho is seriously hurt, she will never forgive him. Never. The hand grips the ledge tightly. Henho thinks, finally. Climbing onto the stone platform, he thinks that he is already at the place. The guy pulls up the vine on which the limp hanging body of Beck Jen swings. Lifting the boy upstairs, Henho curses. They had come such a long way, and he collapsed powerless. He insults Beck Jen, not bothering much with his words. Leaning over the cliff, he demands that he open his eyes. Insulting him, the guy asks, has he decided to die? And then demands, get up. At the foot of the cliff stands Henho. Near him lies Beck Jen, tied with a vine to the guy. Henho knocks on the wall with a conditional knock. In front of him opens the entrance to the cave. The guy thinks that when many clans were raided, his father moved some things from the Pangi Valley to another place. It was then that the manuscripts he needs were lost. He takes a step forward, thinking that, finally, several years later, he is here again. Henho enters the cave, and the liana to which Beck Jen is tied tightens. But without stopping, he takes the liana in his hands and drags the sitting boy behind him. He's glad that now he will be able to find them. Henho sits on the floor, holding a book in his hands. Beck Jen examines the huge hall in which they are located. The guy thinks, as he expected, this is... His thoughts are interrupted by a question. So, he is here for this? Henho instantly turns his head toward the direction from which the voice comes. He is very surprised by the appearance of this man in the cave. In front of him stands Mughal Han. The guy instantly jumps up and rushes toward him. He tries to strike with his fist, but the man easily dodges. Pushing off the floor, he soars quite high up, and then lands behind the guy, who did not expect such agility from him. Henho raises his hand, wishing to apply the heavenly thunder technique. He directs the strike at Mughal Han, using the sky-piercing hand technique. Mughal Han dodges just a little, and the guy's hand meets emptiness. Henho does not want to calm down. His face is distorted with rage. The man thinks this is a distraction maneuver. He realizes that the guy's real target is the sword behind him. Henho's hand grabs the hilt of the blade. He holds the sword in front of him. Determination is written on his face. Henho swings the sword, wishing to deal with the opponent. Mughal Han mockingly says, "Oh." Raising the sword above his head, Henho uses the infinite step technique and swiftly closes the distance between them. But Mughal Han is behind him in an instant and applies the heavenly palm thunder technique, touching his back with his hands. The guy's body arches in pain. The man, holding his hand in front of him, says he only hit lightly. If it had been a real strike, the guy would already be dead. Henho freezes, holding a sword in front of him. Mughal Han says he sees that the guy is angry, but the guy should already understand that he is not going to kill him, right? Henho grimly remains silent, listening to him, and then he attacks again, and Mughal Han steps aside, avoiding danger. He says, "The guy still doesn't understand anything, right?" The man's hand reaches for the opening of the caftan, taking something out of a hidden pocket. Suddenly, he jumps onto the blade of the sword, and standing on it, shows the guy a mushroom. Continuing to stand on the sword blade, the man says, "The flat surface of the blade, raised forward, makes it a good support." Henho, lying on the ground, raises his head and looks at him angrily. The sword he dropped lies in front of him. The man puts the red mushroom right under his nose, and the guy looks at it with surprise. Mughal Han, sitting in front of him, explains that the mushrooms from the cave look poisonous, but actually are not. This also applies to the snakes living there. He says that, unlike vipers, ordinary snakes do not have venom. Knowing this, one can scare them off without using their powers, just by their appearance, the man adds. As a young master, he should have demonstrated this. The guy asks, "Does he mean that he tested him?" Mughal Han answers, "Yes. So let him stop fussing and calm down. If he breaks anything, his father will not be happy about it." Henho shouts that he will be in trouble. After all, it was Mughal Han who attacked him. The man explains that it was to test his reaction. It was not a fatal blow, right? Mughal Han adds that he probably took a huge amount of elixirs, so the wound should have already healed. So let him stop whining. And also, raising the book that Henho was reading before, the man asks, "Why was he looking at that one?" The boy's face becomes tense, but he does not hurry to answer anything. Mughal Han says, "It seems the reason he tried to escape from him and pass through the Pangi Valley is also connected to this book." Approaching the boy, he explains that he lacks internal energy and strength, but he remembered the forms and techniques of the heavenly thunder orbs and the heavenly thunder fist, and he is interested in the reverse flow. Coming up close to Henho, the man asks, "Could it be that he reincarnated?" He adds, "And this means his past?" The boy looks at him with surprised eyes. Night has come. The high cliffs are illuminated by the moon disk. Henho and Mughal Han sit on the floor of the cave facing each other. Beck Jen watches them from afar with curiosity. The man says thoughtfully, "So, he died. The Namgun family was destroyed, and after he was killed, he woke up in this time." Mughal Han says that no one will believe such a story unless he is as crazy as himself. If he did not know about soul transfer techniques, he could not even imagine it. The guy did not expect the man to believe him so easily. Even if he told people about it, they would just think it was the ramblings of a madman. Mughal Han asks, "And what is Henho going to do now?" The guy answers, since there are no more leads for now, he plans to focus on training his body. At the same time, he thinks he has already caught Beck Jen. Henho believes that his main enemy is now powerless, and he can kill him at any moment. His hand rests on the sword as he thinks about inspecting the wound on Beck Jen's stomach, then killing him, and the biggest problem will be solved. The man says, as for leads, he can give him a few. Mughal Han explains that he knows quite a lot about soul transfer techniques. He can probably tell the guy what he is interested in. Henho is initially pleased with this offer, but immediately has a question that he does not even have time to voice. Mughal Han says that in exchange for this information, Henho must give him one promise. From this moment on, he will not try to change the future. Henho is shocked by Mughal Han's condition, who wants him not to try to change the future. The guy shouts that he cannot make such a promise. He asks, "Hasn't Mughal Han heard what he told him?" If this continues, the man replies that he heard everything. If it is the will of heaven, then they can do nothing about it. Henho is outraged. Nothing can be done. He says that they just have to allow everything to end in destruction. The guy adds, "And this only because it concerns the clan from which he was expelled?" Mughal Han answers that it is not about that at all. His hand, resting on his knee, trembled slightly. He explains that even if you know the future in advance and eliminate the causes of incidents, after a short pause, the man finishes the sentence. What must happen will happen anyway. Mughal Han says that, as far as he has heard, this is not a simple situation. There is a more global time flow that goes beyond personal grievances. Just as life and death are inseparable, everything has a beginning and an end. No one can rule forever. When the war ended during the reign of the previous emperor, the country stabilized, and the fate of the military world began to deteriorate. If it is the will of heaven, how can they stop it by human efforts? The man adds, the more a person fights to prevent this, the more likely everything will get tangled. So let Henho not boast about his clan, but simply focus on preserving his own life. He asks, does the guy think that knowing the future makes him someone special? If that were so, he would not have been killed. Mughal Han says that maybe if Henho had killed an extremely powerful person, everything would be different. But the guy does not have the ability to resist the will of heaven. Listening to his speech, Henho again plunges into his bloody past. The young man with long blonde hair makes a sword thrust. The man watching him says that, at his age, mastering the basics of the azure sky sword to such a degree is impressive. He regrets that the young man is not his biological child. The boy hears his words. Beck Jen could have achieved great success in the art of swordsmanship, which is passed down only to the head of the clan. Henho is talented, but he does not measure up to Beck Jen. The man sighs. What a pity. The person standing next to him supports him. Very sad. The guy answers Mughal Khan. Of course, his martial arts skills are not at the level to become the head of the Namgun clan or the leader of the military alliance. He admits that even if he restores his abilities from his past life as quickly as possible, there are still limits to how high he can rise. He pretended to be stronger than he really is, because the position of deputy head of the clan is beyond his capabilities. His hand involuntarily clenches into a fist. Henho says, however, he is not so cowardly as to give up just because it seems impossible. Mughal Khan replies that the guy does not understand. He explains that this may provoke the wrath of the heavens and lead to their faster destruction. The guy's patience is running out. He says that in the end, Henho shouts that they are doomed to destruction anyway. The heavens have already abandoned them, so he has no reason to obey their will anymore. The interlocutor says, could it be that the Namgun clan, which strove more than anyone to resemble the heavens, has renounced them? He begins to laugh, saying, how interesting. Well, if they are doomed anyway, then it no longer matters. Mughal Khan adds, if he decided so, then he has something for the guy. He shows him a small pouch clenched in his fist. The man extends a small ball onto the boy's palm, from which a faint, violet, energetic haze emanates. The man explains that this is the monster's internal pill with poisonous flame. He says that the poison is so strong that he himself could not swallow it. Nevertheless, it might come in handy someday, so he should keep it with him. Mughal Han adds, if he manages to absorb the energy of the internal pill. Henho interrupts him, saying that he will do it now. The man did not expect such a hasty decision from him, and asks in surprise, what? Henho replies, he said he would do it now, not later. Mughal Han says, Has he been talking to a madman all this time? The boy says there is a chance he might lose it, or it might be taken from him if he keeps it with him. And he doubts that a more suitable moment will come over time. The man clarifies. Does he mean that there is still a way, as if there is still hope? Mughal Han, becoming extremely serious, explains. The poison Yem Gui will cause his limbs to rot if he is poisoned. And it is also deadly for Dantian, the reservoir of internal energy. At the very least, the boy will be unable to act. There is currently no way to remove the poison. It is impossible. Henho replies that he does not need to remove it. He intends to absorb it as it is. The man asks, the boy says this after all the suffering? Does he really want to end his life? He explains that it is easier to control the energy when it is inside rather than outside. The boy answers that he will separate the absorbed poison from inside and concentrate it in one place. After that, he will only need to cut the blood vessels connected to the place where the poison is concentrated. Angry Mughal Han asks, what nonsense is this? The only place where energy can be gathered is the Dantian. Henho wants to say that he will block the Dantian? The guy explains that there is another, lower Dantian, which is not connected to the blood vessels. He says that you just need to connect a very thin meridian, introduce poison into it, and then cut this meridian. The dark-haired youth trains, practicing with a sword. He examines the tree trunk on which he honed his strikes. Clenching his teeth, he thinks that he loosened his grip. But to be defeated by someone 2 years younger than him is a disgrace. He believes that if it were an official match, he would not have lost. He is called by a boy rushing to him, calling him Il Penem. The boy reports that Henho has returned, and then adds, they say something is wrong with him. Il Pen listens to the news without raising his head. People stop, watching as Mughal Han walks across the square, carrying Henho on his back. Behind them walks Beck Jen. The boy who brought the news to Il Pen says that Henho's collar is all bloody. Sam Il Pen, standing next to him, sadly bows his head, thinking, he did tell Henho not to go to the Pangi Valley. Why would he exhaust himself like that when the surroundings are so peaceful? He believes the guy made a big mistake. Mughal Han does not look happy. All this terribly irritates him. He thinks that maybe he should have stopped the guy at the very beginning. But Mughal Han decisively crosses his arms over his chest, saying, no, he believes that connecting and cutting blood vessels is easier said than done. There is a risk that the poison could spread to other meridians, which is dangerous. Henho replies that the second Dantian is not connected to any meridian, including the 3 main ones. It has no circulation path. Raising his hand up and showing an open palm to the interlocutor, he says that the probability of success is about 50%. The guy believes that with the help of someone who knows how to handle energy, it increases to 70%. Mughal Han ponders his words. The man says, the guy talks as if he will definitely help him. He admits that he could pretend to help but actually hinder him. He asks, does Henho trust him that much? The guy answers that, honestly, he does not fully trust him. He says that he still wants to try. Mentally he adds, because Mughal Han is an eccentric person who has studied forbidden techniques. For himself, Henho plunges into reflections. He remembers his defeat, about how Chuck Salanga's long nail almost cut his throat. Then the guy recalls the battle in his past life. He clearly sees before him the face of the adult, Beck Jen, with whom they crossed blades. The guy's eyes sparkle with the barely restrained power inside him. And then, as if a lightning bolt passes between them, Beck Jen loses his head, and splashes of blood fly in different directions. For the outcome of the duel to be like this, Henho needs power. Power so immense that it can sever the neck of any enemy with one blow, as if it were the will of the heavens. The young Beck Jen, peeking out from his hiding place, watches them with wide-open, surprised eyes. Mughal Han says that he tried to scare the guy, but instead he got scared himself. He admits that he is even a little excited. The man adds, if the guy really has 2 Dantons, then it's worth trying. Honestly, it's fascinating. Rising from the floor, Mughal Han says, all right, we can try. But let the guy not blame him if it doesn't work. Henho promises that he will not do that. However, let Mughal Han promise him to kill whoever is hiding in this cave if he fails. Looking at the guy lying in bed with closed eyes, the man dressed in clean clothes remembers how he asked him to swear that he would definitely fulfill his request. Mughal Han plunges into thoughts. He does not seem like a bad person to him. But could the Namgun clan really be destroyed because of him? He wonders, regardless of how much the clan declines, can Namgun really be destroyed by one person? He believes there must have been other hidden reasons. Namgun Chawun rushes into the room. He heard that Henho was seriously wounded and asks, "What happened?" The men stand over the unconscious guy. Mughal Han thinks, since this is a secret, he will have to add a little lie. He says that Henho was poisoned by assassins. They were waiting for them on the way, knowing they would come. Namgun Chawun asks again, "Assassins?" He suggests that his brother sent them. Stretching, Mughal Han says that he lost sight of the guy halfway. Henho really does not want him to be near him, even if it kills him. He asks the clan leader not to worry. The poison was removed, and the guy is now recovering. Mughal Han recalls how it all happened, and thinks that fortunately, he managed to isolate the poison and contain it in the second, lower Dantian. And the guy really has two of them. He believes they still succeeded. However, the problem is that Henho does not open his eyes. The man suggests that maybe he exhausted his strength by circulating energy all day. Mughal Han thinks, it can't be that he lies like this forever. Right? Namgun Chawun says, it's good that Huarin and his mother left. He thinks if his wife saw this, she would go crazy and try to kill his brother. Chawun asks, what kind of poison was it? In response, he hears, devastating Gondok. Mughal Han explains that the poison paralyzes a person, and then the unfortunate one is thrown into a cave where snakes gnaw him to death. Although he made this up, his invention sounds quite convincing. The head of the Namgun clan asks, what happened to the killers? Mughal Han says, those guys. He says that he left them alive. Chawun's face darkens with anger. A fist slams forcefully on the table, and the question sounds, what? The angry Namgun son asks, Henho survived and returned? The young man standing before him answers, yes, but he still hasn't opened his eyes. He suspects it might have been snake venom. Namgun's son says, he is certainly very resilient, but if he was poisoned, it will take a long time to recover. Since it happened this way, it would have been better if he never woke up. He believes that otherwise, Henho will be completely humiliated in the upcoming sparring competition. Tapping his finger on the table surface, Namgun's son adds, everyone says Henho is exceptionally talented, but anyone can see that his son Jen Woon far surpasses the guy. Continuing to tap his index finger on the table, he says, so, for Henho's own sake, smiling ominously, he adds, it's better to help him rest in eternal peace. Ilpen and his friend peek out from behind the branches. The young man says, it seems Henho's condition is really bad. Sparring competitions are out of the question. He hoped that this time he would finally win after losing every year to the clan's side branch. Ilpen replies that Henho still would not have won. The friend is outraged. What is he saying? The youths jump from the tree onto the roof. The young man indignantly asks, what does Ilpen mean? Does he want the young master to lose? Ilpen explains that no matter how much effort he puts in, he still cannot surpass innate talent. The friend shouts that the eldest son of the clan's collateral branch is strong, but young Master Henho still remains one of the most outstanding talents among the young Namgun generation. Without looking at him, Ilpen answers, even if a person is exceptional among people, divine talent is still on another level. Therefore, those who are merely average should not overdo it and live moderately. He adds, this is what happens when a person does not know their place. The friend shouts, how dare he speak so rudely about the young master? He demands that Ilpen stop immediately. In the courtyard near the large lantern stand the guards. From the roof, a man whose lower face is hidden by a mask watches them. Henho, still not opening his eyes, lies in his bed. A guy walks in some empty gray space. He sees people going about their daily business, but no one pays attention to him. He approaches the large door and stops in front of it. The guy stretches out his hands and opens the door panels wide. He sees his adult self standing in the middle of a huge hall. He listens to the warrior's report, turning away from him. He informs the clan leader that the northern gate has been breached, and they are heading straight here. He says they need to evacuate. The enemy will be here any minute. Adult Henho asks, "Is he sure this is Beck Jen?" He answers, "A master in yellow clothes with white hair, armed with a black sword." It cannot be anyone else. Moreover, he has such a level of skill. He is sure that this is Beck Jen. He has no doubts about it. The warrior shouts that Beck Jen is already here. Adult Beck Jen strides rapidly toward him, raising his hand with the sword. He approaches Henho, watering his path with blood. Their eyes meet, and Henho shouts furiously, "How dare he betray the Namgun clan!" Showering Beck Jen with insults, he lunges at him, clutching a sword in his hand. The opponent Henho uses the technique Chongren Rak Rak, descending spirit. Young Henho asks a question. What? So it turns out he fell into demonic deviation, not because of energy infusion? Sitting opposite him, Mughal Han answers that the energy was infused to hold him back, not to cause deviation. He fell into demonic deviation for another reason. Has he ever thought about this? If he returned to the past, then where is the original soul of his body? Pointing at him with a finger, the man repeats the question. Where is the soul of the 14-year-old Namgun Henho? The answer, it is inside him. Mughal Han explains that this young soul clashes with his soul, making emotions unstable. Even if Henho seals the poison in another Dantian, if he loses control again and falls into rage, he might simply explode. That is why he needs to suppress this young soul as much as possible. He must hold back his emotions to the limit. From the mouth of the adult Henho comes the question, why? Why did he do it? Young Henho asks, why did he betray the clan? Betrayed it. Why? Wiping tears, he asks, again and again. Why do they have to go through this? Sitting in the lotus position, he holds the severed head of the adult Henho, wondering, does he want to change? Does he want to protect the clan? Henho decides that he can do it. He will change the future, even if he has to challenge fate itself. He remembers standing, shielding the kneeling Beck Jen. He stood against 3 opponents, saving him. The guy says he wouldn't be able to do it if he were still here. His emotions then were sympathy. Henho recalls the fear he experienced when the elongated claw of the mad killer pierced his throat. He feels joy again, and then rage. Tears roll down the guy's eyes. It is sadness. He even imagines his young soul, kneeling and bleeding, trembling under the influence of these emotions. The guy decides to erase all unnecessary things. He doesn't care if he loses his humanity. The main thing is that he does not lose. Henho no longer doubts. The guy continues to lie in his bed. Sun rays fall on his face, and he opens his eyes. The servant Namgun Sonu, a man in a mask on the roof, thinks he suddenly has a bad feeling. But no, that can't be. He is surrounded by streams of black energy. He wonders. Henho couldn't have already awakened, right? He jumps to his feet and sharply turns around. He thinks, did he imagine someone was here? Or is it just his imagination? Well, he was poisoned. He couldn't have recovered so quickly. While he is pondering, Henho is already standing behind him, extending his hand. The guy, acting very cautiously, reaches for the young man's throat. Henho's fingers find the right spot on his neck and press on it. The man in the mask thinks it's Jeonju blood causing paralysis. The guy, holding him by the neck with one hand, lifts him up. The young man's legs dangle in the air. He feels his strength leaving his body. Henho says this is so annoying. Then he forcefully throws the immobilized body to the ground. The man in the mask falls from a height, unable to do anything to save himself. Henho immediately rushes forward. Already near the ground, he grabs the man in the mask by his clothes, preventing him from crashing. The guy asks, Why was he on someone else's roof? Continuing to hold him, Henho asks, was he hoping he hadn't woken up? His captive thinks about how his mouth doesn't move at all, and he can't answer. He glances at the guy, puzzled. Is this really Henho? The one who was poisoned and unconscious? Realizing the guy is holding him with one hand, he is even more surprised. Henho wasn't this strong, even when fully healthy. The guy says he doesn't really need an answer. He lets go of the young man, and he falls to the ground. Henho says that it is obvious anyway. The young man thinks that something is wrong here. He believes that the guy looks nothing like the one he knew. He has a very bad feeling. He begs his body to move and tries to wiggle at least one finger. Suddenly a branch pierces his hand, tearing his flesh and soaking everything around with blood spurting from the wound. Many branches stick into his back and legs, but he cannot even scream from the pain. The young man realizes that Henho avoided all his pain points and only stabbed into the flesh. Could it be that he is going to torture him? Twisting another branch in his hands, the guy says that he knows what he is thinking. And he already said that he does not need his answer. There have always been many people who were unhappy that he is the young master of the Namgun clan. He throws the branch forcefully, and it sticks into the body of his victim. Henho approaches the man lying on the ground, saying, no matter how hard he tried, everyone thought that his potential was very limited. The guy says that they were right, until yesterday. Squatting, he sticks the branch into the prisoner's body again. Then he adds, until yesterday, neither he nor his clan had any hope. Sitting next to the body of the young man, pierced with branches and bleeding, the guy says that from this moment, everything will be different. His hand reaches for another branch. Sticking it into the man's body, Henho says, if he remains alive after he pierces his body 100 times, let him tell about it to the person standing behind him. Lifting the man's head and aiming the branch at his eye, Henho says that they will see each other at the sparring competition. The young man sees with horror how the branch approaches his eyes, mentally screaming, no! In the morning, the door to Henho's room bursts open and Mughal Han appears on the threshold. The man is a little surprised. Did the boy really wake up? Henho replies that he just met with his parents and Hua Rin. They heard the news and got worried, so his sister and mother came back earlier. Mughal Han looks carefully at the boy standing before him. He says that something has changed in Henho. The man believes that after risking his life, it would be strange if nothing had changed. Mughal Han says, in any case, the boy woke up whole and unharmed. His energy is calm, and he does not feel poison in him. It seems the internal energy suits his body well. The man adds, he's glad that it turned out this way. He asks, Henho, you probably also suppressed the young soul that was raging, right? The boy agrees with his conclusions. Yes, that's right. Mughal Han, chuckling, says he likes the boy's straightforward answer. Since he is fine, at least his mother will not chase him and try to kill him. Mughal Han suggests not wasting time and immediately starting training. He says, even if the boy's soul has lived much longer and learned a lot, it will all be useless if his body is still weak. If Henho managed to suppress the young soul, now he needs to train his body and cleanse his energy to unite mind and body. Extending a hand enveloped in a light haze of inner energy, the man says that this way he will gain strength faster to oppose the heavens. He asks Henho, this is his goal, isn't it? He wants to change fate. The guy turning away from him answers, yes, he will change it, no matter what happens. He adds that before they start training, he needs to do something first. Mughal Han is surprised. What does he need to do? Seeing a dagger in the guy's hand, the man asks, why does he need it? Henho answers, because he needs to open the stomach. It's more convenient to do this with a dagger than to tear the body with bare hands. Mughal Han looks at him in surprise. Looking at the weapon in his hands, the guy says that he is going to open Beck Jen's stomach. The man brought him along, so he should know where he is now, right? By a gun is sweeping the yard. Suddenly, Hua Rin appears before him. The boy freezes, looking at her. The girl asks, who is he? What is he doing here? Beck Jen stares at Hua Rin, unable to answer her. Mughal Han, crossing his arms over his chest, says, I see. So the guy is going to open Beck Jen's stomach? The man asks. Is it because of that scar? Or does he just want to torture him before killing him? He understands his motives. But does the guy really think that this way he will learn something? Mughal Han says. Since the guy brought it up, he also watched the boy, but noticed nothing. Henho is sure that it is really him who will destroy the Namgun clan? The guy answers. Yes, he is sure of it. There is no other master of his level with such white hair. Henho falls silent, examining the person standing before him. A master, white hair, exiled from the Namgun clan. Mughal Han asks. What are the chances that he will not die in the future? The guy says that it is impossible. He has never seen a corpse with his own eyes. He believes that the man must be very worried about this, since he thinks the same as he does. Mughal Han says, if this is a strong master with white hair and a beautiful face, of course, it looks suspicious. Henho objects. He never said that his killer is handsome. The man says that Beck Jen is handsome enough. He could very well have been mistaken for that person. Henho replies. He regrets not having looked at his face properly. The guy says, but his martial arts and sword, especially that sword, undoubtedly belonged to Beck Jen. Mughal Han says that the man could have stolen the sword, right? The guy asks, but who else could be another white-haired, strong, and handsome man? The interlocutor answers that he does not know. But one thing he knows for sure, Beck Jen must not be killed. Raising his index finger admonishingly, he explains. There are several reasons. But first, they are not even sure that Beck Jen is the real criminal. And with his blocked meridians, he cannot use martial arts. So right now, he poses no threat. Moreover, he is closely connected to Henho's past and could become a clue. Mughal Khan adds. And finally, he does not want the guy to get used to easily killing weak opponents. From the moment he entered here, he smelled blood. And now he understands that it comes from the guy. The man asks, what did he do after his awakening? Hua Rin looks at Beck Jen with curiosity, not understanding why he is silent. She says that he has such an unusual hair color. And then she asks, why is he sweeping the yard? Is he a new servant? Approaching him, Hua Rin says, ah, so he came with her brother. She heard that he is already fine. But what happened? She was told little, but she is very curious. The girl asks, why is he silent? Let him say at least something. At that moment, a small stone catches her foot. Hua Rin stumbles and falls right onto Beck Jen. The girl buries her forehead in his shoulder. He raises his hand to support her, but does not dare to touch her. His fingers clench. He freezes, afraid even to breathe. Henho with one jerk carries Hua Rin onto his back, shouting for Beck Jen to take his hands off her. He throws his hand forward and the force stream hits Beck Jen. Hua Rin exclaims, brother! Henho, without looking at her, says that he has spared him so far. Turning to his sister, he adds, Hua Rin knows that when she reaches adulthood, she will have to marry the son from the Jagal family. Let her be careful and watch her surroundings closely. The boy adds with a note of contempt in his voice. Her future husband will not be as poor as the one standing before them now. The girl shouts that she just stumbled, and the brother is making a mountain out of a molehill. Henho thinks it's because she was deeply connected to this person in a past life. Aloud he says, in any case, let her be cautious. The boy explains to his sister that Beck Jen cannot speak because he is wounded. There is no point in asking him anything. With pain in his eyes, Beck Jen listens to his harsh words. They are interrupted by Mughal Han. Stretching, the man says, Henho, don't you think you went too far? Why can't poor people get married? Even they have the right to romance. And besides, it's not like he himself is poor. Hua Rin is shocked. Another white-haired one? She asks Mughal Han. Is that his son? The man answers negatively. No, he is still single. And besides, he is a healer. He says he came to check on the boy, so if she doesn't need anything, she should leave. The girl asks, if he is a healer, then let him say if her brother is really okay. Mughal Ho replies, he is fine, Doesn't she see that herself? He is completely healthy, and that's thanks to him. Hua Rin tells her brother. He must tell her what happened in the Pangyi Valley. She declares that she is completely serious. Mughal Han and Henho bring Beck Jen into the room. The guy asks, why does the man hide his identity from Hua Rin? He answers that their mother specifically asked him to do so. Mughal Han says that most people still don't know who he is, and that suits him. In any case, as promised, he will check everything himself, so he should not touch Beck Jen. The man reminds Henho, didn't he tell him to suppress his soul, and he immediately resorted to killing? Moreover, did he erase all other emotions? He has never seen such a wild madman as Henho. The guy says that he had to eliminate unnecessary variables. The interlocutor replies, oh, how impressive. He calls the guy crazy, and then adds, if he pretends to be crazy, then the guy doesn't even need to pretend. If there were a tournament of madmen, he would become the champion there. He congratulates Henho for being the craziest among the crazy. Doesn't that embarrass him at all? The guy answers, no, not at all. So he should stop talking and check Beck Jen already. He adds, how much Mughal Han annoys him. Beck Jen, having taken off his shirt, lies on the floor. Mughal Han sits nearby, feeling his body. The man tells Henho never to torture or kill people again unless there is an urgent necessity. The guy replies that there was. Mughal Han says it would have been enough just to subdue him, or to scare him. Henho believes that the man does not quite understand him. Because he lacks emotions, he does not do unnecessary things. He explains that achieving his goal is the only thing that matters. Mughal Han brings his palms, wrapped in a light mist of energy, closer to Beck Jen. Looking at Henho, he thinks, that's why he is afraid that the guy will lose sight of this goal. Mentally, he rates Henho's mental abilities quite low, and in insulting terms. The hand of Mughal Han touches the scar on Beck Jen's stomach. The man says that the energy flow is weak, but other than that, there is nothing particularly strange. Dantian is in perfect order. Henho, sitting on the floor next to him, asks skeptically, is he sure? Mughal Han says, yes, sure. He knows it is a bit suspicious, but without opening his stomach, the boy will learn nothing more. The man adds, besides, this place is very different from the one Henho knew in the past, and that means the future is not determined. In that case, the boy's priority should be cultivation improvement. He believes the real problem is that events may develop in an unexpected direction, and by eliminating what he considers the root cause of all troubles, he may weaken his vigilance. The boy replies, if he leaves everything as it is, he may die again at the hands of someone he did not consider his enemy. Tapping his finger thoughtfully, the man says, then they need to act like this. Bowing her head respectfully, the maid offers Namgun's son to enter the room. Stepping over the threshold, the man heads to the clan head Namgun standing by the writing desk. He is angry that Namgun Chawun summoned him, but does not even look in his direction. The clan head sharply turns to the approaching Namgun's son. The man respectfully bows his head and greets him, saying, he heard that the master is looking for him. He believes the reason is preparation for the tournament. But looking at the clan head's gloomy face, he wonders, is that really the case? And what is this overwhelming pressure coming from him? Namgun's son thinks fearfully. Could it be that he felt something? And the reason why his spy did not return is to blame? The man feels that a huge predator is looking at him, ready to pounce on him and tear him apart at any moment. He senses how sharp and harsh energy spreads everywhere. Namgun's son understands. If he meets the head one-on-one, he will have no chance of victory. Namgun Chawun says he called the master of the side branch because he has a delicate request for him. Namgun's son straightens his shoulders, saying, if this is the request of the clan head, then he will fulfill it wholeheartedly. Namgun Chawun reports that Henho was attacked by assassins. The interlocutor looks surprised. The clan head tells him he hopes that the master of the side branch will investigate this matter. His words clearly do not please the man. The clan head continues to say that trusting the affairs of the main family to the side branch is a delicate matter. But there is no one more reliable and wiser in the side branch than Master's son. The man continues to hold his hands at chest level, covering the fist of one hand with the palm of the other. He thinks, so the clan head is testing him. Even if he suspects him, there is still no solid evidence. Waving his hand, Namgun San says that he is completely shocked by the news that something like this happened to Henho. He assures that he will definitely find out who is behind it. Turning away from him, Namgun Chawun thanks him dryly. Leaving the clan head's office, Namgun San walks down the corridor, thinking that the clan head understood everything much faster than he expected. Continuing to walk, he reflects that unlike other incompetent fools in the martial arts world, major martial clans value honor and justice. Without solid evidence, they cannot punish or arrest him. Nevertheless, it is better to stay in the shadows for a while. Namgun San thinks, after all, as soon as the tournament begins, and if Henho suffers a shameful defeat, doubts will probably arise about whether the future of Namgun can be trusted. A malicious smile appears on the man's face as he contemplates that after he deals with Henho, it will be easier for him to influence public opinion. After all, everyone knows that fighting clans care deeply about their reputation. He eagerly awaits the tournament. Tournament day. Many people have gathered near the sparring arena. Standing in the crowd, Henho thinks that none of the assassins have tried to attack him again. Did his intimidation work, or is another plan in play? He decides that it doesn't matter. He has already absorbed the energy of a deadly monster with poisonous flames and has been training tirelessly all this time. The guy is confident he can defeat everyone here if they attack him. Henho still believes he should be cautious. Meanwhile, a boy pushes someone away, shouting for him to step back. He is outraged. Why are there so many participants here when everyone already knows they will lose to his older brother? Behind him stands a young man, hiding a smile behind a fan. The third son of the Namgun collateral branch, Sung, mockingly says, he understands everything. They want to participate in the tournament this year because it is his brother's last tournament. And even if they lose, they still want to test themselves, right? They want to boast later that they fought such a mighty opponent, don't they? The second son of the Namgun collateral branch, Chu Wang, lowering the fan, tells his brother, even if he is right, he is still too loud. He advises him to be a little more restrained. Glancing at the young man standing nearby, he adds that even Jen Woon is silent, so Sung should not interfere. The first son of the Namgun collateral branch, Jen Woon, indifferently says, it doesn't matter. Let him make a scene. Namgun Sung laughs and loudly declares, exactly, the older brother said everything is fine. These are the words of the strongest man. So who would argue? Behind him a question is heard. The strongest? And Namgun Sung sharply turns back. Furious Hua Rin literally radiates waves of anger. The girl confidently declares that the strongest person here is her older brother. The boy laughs. Ah, well, of course. He's the eldest son of the main family and the clan heir, so he must be strong, right? Crossing his arms on his chest, he triumphantly states that despite this, Henho has never defeated his older brother, and this time will be the same. Dreamily smiling, Namgun San thinks, it will be a miracle if he doesn't get a nosebleed. Henho thinks that the boy is already starting to annoy him. He tells himself that it doesn't matter, just a quarrel between children. Hua Rin is literally beside herself with anger. Shaking her fist at the boy, she demands that he not underestimate her older brother. Insulting Namgun Sung, the girl rushes at him with fists. Namgun Chuang's eyes become round with surprise. Henho grabs the young man's wrist, stopping his raised fist, and looks gloomily into his eyes. The guy looks threateningly into Jen Woon's eyes, who dared to raise his hand against his sister. Namgun Sung, sitting on the ground, holding his throat with his hand, says, brother. Namgun Chuang hurriedly approaches them, bringing Hua Rin apologies for the rudeness of his younger brother. He adds that he considers everything that happened a misunderstanding. He explains that his older brother just came here to. Unclenching his brother's fist, He says that Jen-woon just wanted to catch a bee. That's all. A dead bee falls to the ground. Henho looks at the insect with surprise. The guy thinks that, at the moment he let go of his hand, he threw this bee. He believes that Jen-woon and his brothers know how to lie and manipulate people. Remembering how his sister swung at Namgun-sung, Henho thinks he considered Jen-woon more cold-blooded. But when his younger brother was involved, the young man acted impulsively and intervened. The guy realizes that now, being more focused, he notices things he missed in childhood. Now he can see the true character and temperament of people. He thinks this might be useful. A beautiful red-haired girl exclaims, "She is so bored." She believes that there is nothing interesting in children's fights. Jagal Yumi says, "Wooden swords? They are joking." Hua Rin says that in the Namgun clan, real swords are given only at 16 years old. The girl, sighing, replies, "Even in their clan, where fencing is not the main activity, they receive them upon reaching adulthood." The reputation of the strongest swordsman clan is questionable. Hua Rin explains that after the former emperor defended the country from foreign invasions and united the lands, more and more people began to believe that martial arts had fulfilled their purpose. They hinted that powerful, uncontrollable forces could become the seed of further unrest. So even martial arts clans became more cautious. The girl says, especially considering that the Namgun clan includes symbols like sky or emperor in the names of their martial techniques, they could not enjoy the favor of the imperial family. Therefore, the previous clan leader softened their aggressive traditions, bringing them to the state they are in now. Hua Rin adds that, in the end, who can truly claim to reach the heavens? It is the son of the heavens, appointed by the heavens. Jagal Yumi, stroking the girl's head, says, "So, essentially, they are now tigers without fangs." She is delighted. The girl is so smart and explains everything so well. Hua Rin agrees with her, but insists that they might not be so weak. The girl thinks, maybe their attention, like that of all others present, is drawn to the start of the tournament. A wooden sword falls from the hands of Namgun Chuang. Henho sharply throws his fist forward. His opponent loses balance and falls. Looking at him, Jagal Yumi thinks, maybe he is a tiger hiding his claws. A boy from the crowd says in surprise, "What?" He lowered his sword and instead hit with his fist. Meanwhile, the guy heads towards the opponent sitting on the platform. The boy says he has never seen Henho fight like this before. Does that mean he doesn't even need to use a weapon? Henho clenches his fist tighter. His face shows no emotion. The young man nervously stammers that he surrenders. The red-haired girl and Hua Rin watch the events in the ring with amazement. The defeated opponent lies with arms spread and eyes closed. The guy stands up straight. A voice announces Namgun Henho as the winner. One of the spectators asks, "Wasn't the young man going to surrender? Or did he hear it wrong?" Jen-woon is surprised by what is happening. The younger brother Sung exclaims confusedly, "Brother." The face of the first son of the collateral branch darkens as he looks at Henho. The guy turns his head toward him and mentally addresses him, saying, "Let him be angry. Be angry, and attack him for real. He is sure he will overcome him when he gets properly furious." Namgun's son is beside himself with rage. His hands involuntarily clench into fists. The man thinks Chuang clearly said he was surrendering, but Henho continued the attack. Continuing to be angry, he wonders, did the head of the clan order him to do this? The man glances at Namgun Chawun sitting nearby, thinking that from his facial expression, one cannot understand him. Like father, like son, both are very cunning. Driven by anger, Namgun's son decides to take revenge for this humiliation in the upcoming final. The final match is announced. Namgun Henho versus Namgun Gen Woon. The opponents stand facing each other, gripping wooden swords in their hands. Genwon drills the guy with a promising look. The command sounds, "Start!" And Genwon immediately rushes into the attack. Holding the hilt of the blade with both hands, he raises it above his head, aiming to deliver a crushing blow. But Henho defends himself, putting his blade in harm's way. The guy thinks that the opponent strikes with amazing force using only a wooden sword, which is impressive. In a past life, Henho would have already been knocked out. The guy grips the blade's handle tighter in his hand. The opponent's gazes meet. A grim determination is read in Jen Woon's eyes. Henho thinks, however, now everything is different. Putting in effort, he literally throws Jen Woon away from himself. The young man, flying backward, drops his weapon from his hands. Jen Woon, stunned by Henho's blow, cannot believe what is happening. Shocked Namgun Sung shouts, "Brother!" Jen Woon is amazed. What power? The young man, kneeling on one knee, raises the blade. His facial features are distorted with anger. Henho, without waiting for the opponent to get up, attacks him. Jen Woon, who managed to get up, repels the guy's attacks. The young man lunges at Henho, who easily jumps back, increasing the distance between them. His speed astonishes the opponent. He thinks that Henho is on a completely different level. The guy points a sword at him. He is surrounded by a sinister aura. The young man thinks that this is nothing like how the guy performed last year. How could this have happened? Henho reflects on having knocked out Chu Wong, who was ready to surrender, with just one punch. He thought Jen Woon would lose his mind over it and attack him. But the young man is much calmer than he expected. The guy wonders if maybe he should have broken Chu Wong's arms and legs back then. He brushes off the thought. No, too many witnesses. Swiftly moving across the platform, he decides that for now, he should not cross the line. Even if his soul has already passed the point of no return, the world must never know about it. Opponents clash wooden blades again, and Ho thinks, if hiding it forever is impossible, then at least until he becomes the head of the clan. So for now, looking through crossed blades at Jen Woon, the guy decides to provoke him in another way. A mocking "ha" slips from his lips. Henho says, he looked down on him for a long time, didn't he? To the extent that he ran wild on family training grounds, not knowing his place. Namgun Sung jumps joyfully. After all, the elder brother said everything is fine. These are the words of the strongest person himself. So who would argue with him? The guy keeps talking. Adults might write it off as childish quarrels, but not him. He plans to punish the young man as he deserves. Henho tells Jen Woon that first, he will make him a miserable failure. And then his younger brothers. Under the pressure of Jen Woon, the guy slightly lowers his sword. They freeze, stopping the fight. The angry young man says he does not know how the guy managed to become so strong, but he must not dare to touch his brothers. Henho answers. So he says not to touch. He should have raised them better in advance. He adds, or maybe they have rotted so much that they have completely stopped respecting the members of the main family of the clan. If so, then all the more it is Henho's duty, as the future head of the main branch of the family, to teach them a lesson. Henho says, which side is the true ruler of the Namgun clan? The opponent's face darkens with anger. One of the viewers asks, what did these two suddenly start talking about? The second replies that he hears nothing. Someone says that this is amazing. It seems there is no clear winner here, right? He has answered, yes, although everyone thought the side branch of the family would easily win again. A voice is heard from one of the people present here. Maybe they have always overestimated them. He is supported, indeed. Namgun Sung is excited. Mentally, he addresses his brother, feeling that the atmosphere has become unusually tense. The young man's hand grips the wooden blade's hilt more tightly. Jenwin says that Henho must not dare to insult his family. The young man grits his teeth angrily. All this is because of resorting to the technique 10th energy sword. The young man finishes the started phrase. Because Henho was not strong enough. Clan leader is struck. 10th energy sword. A powerful gust of wind makes even the spectators duck. Looking at Jen Woon, Namgun Cha Woon realizes that the eldest son of the collateral branch of the family is stronger than he thought. Namgun's son is pleased, as expected, and this time too. He is already anticipating his son's victory. Behind the crowd, a voice is heard. Do you see? Il Pen, crossing his arms on his chest, says, He had told his friend not to come watch the tournament. They will lose anyway. The boy standing next to him grabs his head with both hands. Ilpen thinks that the energy sword is the foundation of the Namgun family's martial arts. To master it, from the first energy sword to the 100th, takes decades. But Gen-1 already knows how to wield the 10th sword. What surprises him most of all is that despite all this, the sword is wooden. Ilpen believes that this is an extraordinary talent, and there is no point in watching any further. He is sure that Henho will lose again. Gen-1, glaring maliciously, thinks, if only he had been born with an exceptional talent for martial arts, then he and his brothers would not have had to. Henho, whom the opponent considered defeated, attacks him from behind. The guy says it was an impressive strike and thanks him. Swinging the sword, he adds that now it is Gen-1's turn to take his strike. Henho resorts to the technique first sword, twin blades, Wendil Pung, knocking the opponent off their feet. Confusion and disbelief in what is happening are written on the young man's face. Remembering their past battles, he thinks, if the guy had been strong from the very beginning, then he would have. A weapon falls from Gen-1's hand. A wooden sword falls onto the platform at his feet. Two trembling children sit in the dim light of the room on the floor, pressed against each other. A strong hand lifts Gen-1, whose face is bruised and scratched, by the chest. Namgun's son asks, is he saying the training is too hard? The man showers his son with insults. The boy's legs dangle in the air. The father continues speaking. No matter how talented he is, if he doesn't put in enough effort, he won't make anyone acknowledge him. Namgun's son shouts furiously. He must be unquestionably stronger than the son of the main branch of the family, whoever sees it. If he is his son, then it must be so. The boy replies that he is fine and can endure it. But his younger brothers, the beaten Gen-1, promises that he will work harder and will not complain. He asks for only one thing, to spare his brothers. Gen-1 promises that he will not let his father down. Words echo in his head. He will become stronger, like his father, and wants to. The youth's hand tightens around the blade. Gen-1 tightly closes his eyes. He opens his eyes and raises his hand to his face. Thin streams of blood flow from his nostrils. The crowd gasps in surprise, and the youth thinks, to block the strike of the 10th sword and deal such damage with just the strike of the first sword. Henho stands, sternly looking at the opponent and pointing his blade at him. Gen-1 finishes his thought. The son of the main branch of the family, the young lord of the Namgun clan, is stronger than him. He releases the wooden sword from his hand. Gen-1 falls face down onto the platform. One thought pounds in his head. He is stronger. A voice sounds. The champion is Namgun Henho. The crowd greets the guy with joyful cheers. Namgun Sung is confused. The elder brother lost. How could this be? Namgun Sun rises and stands beside the head of the clan, who reluctantly turns his head toward him. Bowing respectfully, the man says that Henho has already mastered fencing to such a degree that he is impressed. He congratulates Namgun Chawun. The head of the clan replies that the son of the side branch also showed himself impressively. Because of his age, this must have been his last participation in the tournament. He believes this fight left the young man with a bitter aftertaste. Namgun's son, smiling broadly, says, "Not at all." Rather, he himself felt sincere relief seeing how exceptional Henho's skills are. With such a reliable successor, there is no need to worry about the future of the Namgun clan, the man adds. The head of the clan must be very proud of his son. Namgun Chawun responds to him with a hostile look. He says that Gen-1 was also surprisingly strong and outstanding. The side branch of the family is probably proud of him too. Namgun's son answers without a shadow of doubt. Of course. He adds, hiding a double meaning in his words, that upon returning home, he plans to reward him generously. Huarin thought that the side branch of the clan would win this time as well. But the result was unexpected. The excited red-haired girl runs up to her, saying, "No, she saw it. He created wind with his sword. Hua Rin replies to her that this is a secret technique of the Namgun clan, the energy sword. It is a fencing technique that enhances the wind of the sword by stimulating the airflow during the swing. One must keenly feel and use the airflow and energy. Moreover, the wind points are constantly moving. She adds that the method of sensing and stimulating the wind points is passed down only within the Namgun clan. Jagal Yumi, stretching, says, in any case, it is a complicated technique, right? The girl says that she was almost disappointed, thinking that this person was all that the so-called greatest family of swordsmen had. But fortunately, that is not the case. She admits that she really does not like things that are known only by their name. She believes that if a girl from such a family joined theirs, it would not be so bad. Even some weakling who only loves books could change their attitude if he married a lady from the greatest family of swordsmen. Jagal Yumi thinks that it was still worth coming here. She suggests trying delicious food in Anhui province on the way back. Hua Rin agrees. Il Pen's friend shouts enthusiastically, "Lord Henho!" He is insanely happy and cannot calm down. Addressing Il Pen, he asks, "Did you see? Lord Henho won. He said it would be so. He believed in it. Lord Henho is not weak at all." The young man continues to admire. He said before that Henho is not weak, but this... He stops, looking at his gloomy friend, and cautiously asks, "Isn't he glad they came to watch?" He demands that he answer him immediately. Meanwhile, Il Pen is lost in thought. Who would have thought that thanks to efforts, someone could grow so much in such a short period of time? Standing over the defeated opponent, Henho thinks that it was hard to hold back. Thanks to his provocation, a good scene was created, but controlling it is still difficult. He planned to use the tournament as a starting point to address the internal problems and dissatisfaction of the Namgun clan. He wonders, maybe it's better to just leave everything as it is and leave. Descending the steps, Henho thinks it is better to postpone the visit to the Shaolin temple, which he planned to make after the tournament. He understands that those who sent assassins after him are most likely feeling confused and worried right now. They probably feel that all their hopes and plans are collapsing and will likely think they need to kill him before he becomes even stronger to prove they are right. Henho believes that he is still unworthy of being the master of the Namgun clan. Now that he has left the family estates, there is a high probability that they will send much stronger assassins after him. Well, he will just train by killing them. He glances at the ring where the brothers are bent over Genwon. The guy thinks he is using their malice, desire, and even sadness. The sister rushes to him with a joyful cry, and he mentally adds, "That's why." The girl literally glows with joy. Henho at this moment thinks he will do it to protect what is dear to his family and himself. Leaving the site, the guy thinks, who is the real head of the Namgun clan, who stands above all? He will clarify this as many times as needed. Chok Salong, accompanied by Hu Yen, walk in the night twilight. The shaved-headed big guy asks, "Does the brother really think that this book is here? Can that person be trusted? And what if they get caught?" Chok Salong replies that they have nothing to fear. They will just verify the authenticity of his words, and that's all. Namgun's son is at the tournament now, right? They just need to take a quick look. Huan believes that Namgun's son can be more ruthless and cruel than they are, but if they really get caught, he tries to warn Chok Salong that someone is behind him. Above him looms a monstrously powerful human figure, whose face is not visible in the darkness. A deadly aura emanates from him. Hearing Huan's warning, Chok Salong sharply turns around, but he doesn't have time to react. A powerful hand grabs him by the throat and lifts him off the ground. The stranger's hand squeezes Chok Salong's throat tighter and tighter. Huan stands confused, not knowing how to react to what is happening. Huan's hand reaches for the weapon secured on his back. He attacks the man squeezing Chok Salong's throat. But the man easily dodges, just tilting his head slightly to the side. Hu Yen swings his weapon again, intending to cut off the man's head. The man intercepts the glaive shaft with his free hand. The stranger's eyes glinted malevolently in the darkness. Then his eyes filled with dark energy. He easily throws Hu Yen far behind. Chak Salang, whom the stranger also let go, is worried about his accomplice's fate. He shouts his name. The nails on the mad killer's hand begin to lengthen. Chak Salang attacks the man who attacked them. He dodges, but a bleeding scratch remains on his cheek. The man grabs Chak Salang by the throat again. Struggling to get the words out, the mad killer tells Hu Yen to run. At that moment, the man tears off Chak Salang's head. Blood splashes everywhere. Hu Yen remains sitting on the ground, unable to believe what happened. Drops of sweat run down Hu Yen's face, and only one thought beats in his head. What kind of monster is this? The realization of what happened shocks him. His desperate scream cuts through the darkness. "Brother!" Henho stands, raising his head to the starry sky in the middle of the yard. The guy feels someone's presence nearby. A hand of Mughal Han falls on his shoulder. The man, holding a bottle in the other hand, congratulates Henho on his victory. The guy says indifferently, "Yeah," Mughal Han says. His facial expression is not happy at all. He asks, "Henho doesn't feel it anymore, right?" The guy answers that he doesn't know. Maybe he does feel a little joy. He felt the same earlier when Huarien hugged him. Henho asks the man. He is surprised why he went so far. Without waiting for Mughal Han's answer, he explains. In the past life, he never defeated Namgun Genwun, but this time it was easy. He didn't even have to make much effort. Suddenly gaining such power and losing nothing. It's strange, isn't it? Henho says. If he has to lose something, he should discard the most unnecessary. He adds that otherwise, he might lose something more important at the moment when he doesn't want to at all. The guy thinks that in his own way he paid such a price. Looking at the sky, Henho says, "It's strange that even when he wins a fight, when his sister is happy for him, or when he looks at the stars, he feels almost nothing." Mughal Han listens silently to his speech, and his face becomes sad. After a short pause, the man says, "Those who are brave, if they dare, will kill. Those who are brave, if they don't dare, will live. These two either bring benefit or harm, and heaven hates that." He continues the speech. To act boldly means death. To act without boldness means life. Both can bring benefit or harm. Who can know why the heavens hate one more than the other? These two can sometimes be useful and sometimes harmful. But who can know the reason why the heavens hate them? Henho asks, "Is this from the sacred texts of Tao Te Ching?" It means that bold actions can sometimes lead to death. Stretching? The man answers. Probably. But he thinks the second part of the text is more important. If a person can die anyway, isn't it better to act boldly and die? He tells the guy that he was reckless but brave. He acted to oppose the heavens. Mughal Han adds that he acknowledges this. In response, he hears, "Yes." The man, leaning towards the guy, says, "How boring he has become. He used to be much more cheerful." Henho says, "But more importantly, where did Mughal Han come from at such a late hour?" The man explains that he went to meet the brothers who ambushed the guy in the Pangji Valley. He was supposed to meet them, but no matter how long he waited, they never showed up. The man says that they agreed to help them if the secret manual turned out to be a fake, as he said. Henho asks, does he really believe the promise of these crazy killers? Mughal Han answers, yes, they are killers, but not crazy at all. They only seek to end the lineage and place another heir. That is why they attacked Henho. He asks the guy. He guesses who is behind this, right? Henho answers, yes, it is a side branch of the clan. In his past life, they also did not like him, although they were not so aggressive. He says that he deliberately provoked Genwun at today's tournament. He explains that he wanted to leave a clear impression that he used all his strength to win. The guy adds, although he didn't use it all at all, he believes that, in any case, if they didn't show up, it means they have no intention to cooperate. He suggests stopping waiting and leaving tomorrow. Mughal Han asks, leave? Where to? Henho says, He knows that his mother's family for several generations were disciples in the Shaolin monastery. Therefore, in his past life, he also left at this time to train in Shaolin. The man is amazed, he stammers. It can't be. The guy declares that tomorrow he is leaving for Shaolin. Mughal Han cannot hide his surprise. Henho, pointing at him with his finger, adds that he is going together with him. Mughal Han silently stares at the guy. A bottle falls from his weakened hand. The night darkness is pierced by his scream. What? Mughal Han categorically states, absolutely not. He gives arguments. In Shaolin, you cannot eat meat, drink alcohol, and all you can do there is read prayers and train. The man grabs his head. Just the thought of it makes him feel so bad that he is ready to die. Mughal Han indignantly declares, besides, this is a great clan of swordsmen. Why would he need to go to Shaolin to train? Henho believes that the methods of Namgun and Shaolin are very different. Understanding these differences can be very useful. He adds, moreover, they say that the Namgun clan has had problems recently, so leaving the clan for a while might be the best solution. Mughal Han asks, is that what his father says? The boy replies, yes, and also. He explains that Mughal Han is a strong adult who will accompany him. The man tries to calm down and consider the boy's arguments, but he fails, and he shouts, are there no other strong adults in his Namgun clan besides him? Henho calmly answers, there are none. He knows that most of them died during the last war. The boy believes that among the few remaining strong adults, he is the only one who knows about his situation, so, handing the man a gold ingot, Henho says he would be grateful if he would go with him. Accepting the offering, Mughal Han asks, is the boy trying to bribe him? He thinks that by waving this in front of him, he will make him. In the end, the man accepts the boy's invitation, and soon they set off. Mughal Han stands, fanning himself with a fan, but the fan does not help him much, and he places the traditional conical straw hat on his head. The father, standing next to Yun Chean, utters words of encouragement, asking his son to take care of himself. The mother, who seems about to cry, asks, is he sure he does not need other companions? He is still not fully prepared due to leaving earlier than planned, and this worries her. She adds that with such a companion, it could be dangerous. Mughal Han mentally curses. That's why he did not want to go. Henho asks her not to worry. They will pass by the Jagal clan and the Wudang sect, so if necessary, they can seek help. The young man assures that his companion, despite his appearance, is very reliable. The man is surprised. The boy is defending him in front of his mother? Yunchan is displeased with the situation, but has nothing more to say. The boy, smiling, reassures her, saying that he is no longer a weak child. The woman still tries to object, but pointing to Beck Jen, who is sitting by the road next to a small bundle, she says that among the servants, the son has only this boy. Yunchen laments. They are both strangers to them, so of course she worries. If only they could take at least one person from the Namgun clan. Laughing, Henho replies that sometimes you have to be careful even with those close to you. Becoming more serious, he says, if the one considered an ally betrays, then dealing with it is much harder and more difficult. Saying this, he looks at Beck Jen, who continues to serenely observe something. A strong hand grabs Jen Woon by the collar. Namgun's son throws his son to the floor. The young man does not resist. He only lowers his head and silently listens to his father's insults. Delivering a kick, Namgun's son asks, how dare he disgrace him in front of the clan leader? Everyone thought he would win, but he was blown away by a gust of wind. What will happen to his reputation now? Jen Woon, with a fresh bruise visible on his cheekbone, lowers his head and asks for forgiveness. But the man grabs him by the chest again. Leaning over his son, he asks, did the clan leader order him to deliberately lose? If not, how could he suffer such a shameful defeat? He is more talented. He trained harder. So how could he lose? Namgun's son's eyes become snake-like as he shouts. If he did not lose on purpose, then it makes no sense at all. His fist, raised to strike, is stopped by a big guy who easily dealt with Chak Salong. The man says that there was an invasion. He killed one on the spot and captured another. He adds, besides, The subordinate who tried to assassinate returned half dead, so it's better to deal with urgent matters first. Namgun's son asks, "What?" Songun returned. The man answers, "Yes, but he is brutally tortured and can no longer see. He also cannot properly explain what happened and constantly asks to call Namgun's son." He asks, "So why not stop wasting time on such meaningless things?" Namgun's son angrily pulls his hand out of his grip. Frowning at the man, he says, "Meaningless things." Let him not act so arrogantly, and not forget that whoever his original master was, now he is his dog. Namgun's son adds that when it comes to torture, he yields to no one. Jen-woon, sitting on the floor, listens to their conversation. He thinks that this man radiates a weak but noticeable desire to kill. Doesn't his father feel it? The young man believes that since this man appeared, his father has become more cruel. Jen-woon thinks that Namgun's son has started to act more recklessly and aggressively. Mentally, the young man addresses his father, saying that he, in his opinion, will not be able to surpass Henho. Honestly, he never wanted that from the start. He never wanted to become the clan head. He is overwhelmed with rage. Mentally, he asks the elders to stop this already. If they do not, then he will be forced to. A person whose face is hidden by long, loose hair walks, lighting his way with a small lamp. Huyen, whose bare body shows traces of cuts and blows, stands with closed eyes, suspended on a chain. The person places the lamp on the shelf and says, "Well then," turning to the prisoner, he suggests having fun until the master arrives. Henho, accompanied by Mughal Han and Beck Jen, walks along the road. The man looks around with interest. Leaning close to the boy's ear, Mughal Han asks, "Why did he take Beck Jen with him?" Henho answers, "He himself said not to kill him, so they must watch over him. Besides, they need a porter." Henho says he does not want Beck Jen to approach Hua-rin while he is away. Mughal Han himself said that everything will be as it should be. Right? The man replies, "Didn't he himself say that she already has a future fiancé?" Now that he remembers this, the situation seems increasingly strange to him. Mughal Han thinks aloud. If she is already betrothed in absentia, how did she end up in such a relationship with Beck Jen? Wouldn't both families go crazy over this? Henho explains. The thing is, a tragedy will happen before that. The master from the Jagal family died at a young age. Mughal Han is very surprised. He asks, "What? How old was he?" The boy answers, "He turned 14, turning his head to the interlocutor. Henho says that the tragedy happened this year. At that time, it was common for children from the martial arts world to fall ill or die suddenly for unknown reasons, especially boys. Henho, however, lived relatively peacefully under his father's protection and did not think about it, since someone else's misfortune is someone else's problem. He admits that after returning to the past, he became just as vulnerable. He thought deeply about this during their conversation in the cave. Henho believes that the children did not die by accident. Someone hired assassins, such as Chak Salang, to kill them intentionally. The young man does not think that this is just a disagreement between the side and main branches of the family. He believes there is a bigger culprit, who may have even played a role in the destruction of the Namgun clan. Henho admits, it seems to him that all these events are connected. Therefore, he has even more reasons to travel with Beck Jen. His words make Mughal Han think. After a short silence, the man says, he has just discovered a very important fact from his story, but he suggests postponing all this for later. They stop, and the man says that it seems one rat is eavesdropping on them. Henho replies that he is aware of this. He says, since they overheard their secret conversation, they now have a reason to kill them. Mughal Han shouts indignantly, "What? Just don't tell him that he deliberately let them hear all this?" Throwing himself into the attack, the young man casually answers, "Yes." Henho raises his hand to strike. Namgun's son stands by the bed. Behind him is a servant. Without much ceremony, he grabs the blanket and pulls it towards himself. What he sees puzzles him. He asks, "What are these disgusting holes?" The servant explains that these are marks from ingrown branches. The flesh around the ingrown parts rots, causing the wounds to heal slowly. Namgun's son thinks, could there really be someone in the Namgun clan who could do this? He asks Songun, can he speak? Who did this to him? The young man, whose eyes are covered with a bandage, is feverish. He barely utters, "Master." Songun says that Henho did this to him. Namgun's son is shocked. He incredulously asks again, "What? Henho?" Then he shouts, "Songun wants to say that this boy did such a thing? Has he gone mad?" Namgun's son is outraged. He dropped everything and rushed here just to hear this nonsense. Songun wants to die. The young man shakes his head negatively. His hand, showing wounds from branches, trembles. Songun says, even in such a state he clearly saw it was Henho. He does not know what happened, but he seemed to have become a completely different person. Songun asks the gentleman to believe him. Namgun's son, sharply turning, says he is leaving. Then he adds, if this guy starts spouting nonsense again about being beaten by Henho, then sew his mouth shut. Or send him to prison and torture him until he comes to his senses. The response is a servile, okay. Namgun's son thinks indignantly, seriously? Henho. Henho. He defeated Genwoon and even brought Songun to such a state. A man getting angry is simply ridiculous. If Henho is so strong, then what will happen to him himself? His hand clenches into a fist as he thinks. Could he have become a different person? Does anyone really think he will believe that? He believes that Henho is incapable of dealing with the Namgun clan. Absolutely not. Looking back, Namgun's son, addressing Wang Rip, asks, is he here? Then he adds, it doesn't matter how he does it. Just let him kill Henho as soon as possible. From the ceiling, someone rushes toward Namgun's son, holding onto the beam with his feet and hanging upside down. Wang Rip appears before him. He briefly replies that he understood the gentleman. Henho examines the blade with a strange wooden handle, stuck in the tree trunk in front of him. Mughal Han freezes, stunned by what happened. The guy asks, who is there? He did not feel any other presence and wonders, is the killer not alone? His opponent appears from the forest thicket. A girl dressed in men's clothing comes out from behind the trees. She looks openly, not embarrassed at all. Henho is surprised. A woman? She raises her hand and straightens her index finger. The girl points to her blade. The guy glances at her weapon, stuck next to him in the tree trunk. Examining it, he says that it is a rare type of sword. It seems he has heard about it before. He recalls rumors about an old woman from Kunlun using a sword resembling a staff. The guy asks, is she that very old woman? The girl is clearly angered by his words. She angrily raises her hand up, showing him something with gestures. Henho sharply turns around and looks at the young man behind him, who is eavesdropping on their conversation, sitting on the ground and trembling with fear. Mughal Han, who approached him, says that he is not a killer. The guy replies, that does not change the fact that he was eavesdropping. The young man falls to his knees and bows low, touching his forehead to the ground, saying that he is a servant of the Jagal family, and when he heard talks about Master Jagal, he decided to eavesdrop. But he was far enough away, so he could not hear most of the conversation. He begs for mercy. Henho looks at the young man puzzled. Suddenly the girl swiftly approaches them. With her palm she wants to strike Henho on the neck. The guy quickly dodges, and she jumps high, avoiding a sweep. Henho grips the sword tighter in his hand, not rushing to return it to its owner. The guy swings the blade. The girl has to hastily retreat backward. She performs an incredible somersault. Henho is impressed. 8 great techniques of Yunrun Kunlun. The girl attacks again. The guy successfully dodges, mentally noting that she even used Yunrun claws. Dodging her attacks, Henho realizes that he is facing a master. The guy is forced to admit that she is strong. Henho saturates the blade with internal energy. He strikes and wounds the opponent. The girl clearly did not expect such agility from him. Surprise and disbelief are visible in her eyes. Her forearm's clothing is torn, and blood spurts from the wound. The guy thinks that if he ignores all this, he may deeply regret it in the future. The tip of the blade moves forward swiftly. The girl stands opposite Henho, holding a blade pointed at her. The young man peeking from behind the tree is horrified. Henho asks, and he will not stop him. Mughal Han, standing with arms crossed over his chest to the side, clarifies. Does he mean him? The man replies. No, he is not going to do that. The guy himself said not to worry about unnecessary things. Looking at the blade aimed at the girl's throat, Mughal Han explains. He thought it was a good chance to test where the real limits of his moral boundaries lie. Beck Jen looks at the guy in horror. Mughal Han says, if he really needs to, then let him continue. The man adds, if he thinks she will stand in the way of his goal, then let him act. However, there is one thing he must know. He says, if Henho deviates from the goal, he will never be able to return to his former path. Taking a person's life has its consequences. The guy makes a swing with the blade. The sharp blade rushes toward the girl's neck. Mughal Han continues. If the guy is fine with walking in murky waters while they continue to flow, then let him continue. Henho freezes, then says, when he tried to kill the mute Beck Jen, covered in scars and deprived of memories, did Mughal Han consider it the right thing to do? If he is not sure about the scale, then let him look closely. In Henho's eyes burns a murderous energy as he says, for himself, he has already decided that he will no longer be human. He adds that this is especially valuable when you wield a blade and decide matters of life and death. The guy thinks that Mughal Han's words are too idealistic for this situation. A thin stream of blood flows down the blade of the sword. He continues to hold horizontally, Henho says. However, there are questions he still wants to ask her. So for now, they will stop at that. The young man exhales with relief as the guy throws the blade to the ground next to the sitting girl. The darkened Mughal Han silently watches his actions. The man thinks. Everything is as he thought. A small puddle of blood is visible on the ground. Henho thinks. It seems erasing his emotions was a mistake. Night has come. The girl sleeps in bed, covered with a blanket. A noise reaches her hearing that makes her alert. The girl immediately opens her eyes and listens. She gets out of bed, throwing the blanket aside. Continuing to listen carefully, she heads in the direction from which the voices are coming. Leaving the room, she approaches the railing and looks down. The girl sees that there are no visitors left in the empty hotel hall. Only Henho, Mughal Han, and the young man they met in the forest are sitting at one of the tables. She immediately grabs one of the vases standing on either side of her room's door. Armed in this way, she launches an attack. Henho, whom she rushed at, sits calmly with his hands on the table. The girl moves swiftly through the air. A moment more, and the vase, accurately thrown by the girl, will crash onto the young man's head. Henho reaches out and snatches Mughal Han's conical hat off him. The young man catches the vase thrown at him with it, but the girl is already dangerously close to him. The young man does not allow her foot to land on the table, placing his hand under it. He kicks the leg of the chair with his foot. The chair immediately slides out from under the table. Henho then seats the girl who hasn't had time to come to her senses. She sits, trying to comprehend what happened. Pointing at her with his finger, the guy says, she can tell him everything right now. He adds that it is better to use words for this, rather than behave as if she grew up somewhere far from civilization. The girl shouts indignantly, who grew up far from civilization? How dare he say that? Feeling her bandaged throat, she realizes that she really can speak now. Looking at Henho calmly drinking from a cup, the girl does not understand how this is possible. She remembers how the guy pierced her throat in the forest glade. With disbelief, she continues to feel her bandaged neck. The girl asks Henho, how does he know that she can already speak? The guy explains. He heard about the old woman from Mount Kunlun and her mute adopted daughter. Mentally, he adds that he learned about this when he was the head of the Namgun clan. He says that in the forest, she answered his questions with gestures. Henho adds that, moreover, her sword is made in the shape of a staff. He admits that the decisive argument was still the martial art of Kunlun. Henho believes that although the flips in the air were not performed perfectly by the girl, it was clearly the art of Kunlun. The guy says that this way he understood who was in front of him, and then pierced the meridian located in the neck. Due to the congealed blood there, the energy flow was blocked, and the girl could not speak. He explains that the wound healed so quickly thanks to the golden ointment. The girl asks why he wanted to kill the young man. even when he realized that he was not a martial arts master. Henho replies that he just caught him and could not let him go. He admits that at first he still wanted to kill him. But his younger sister is engaged to the son of the noble Jagal family, and he would never do anything that could interfere with her future. Henho adds, more importantly, they should not have eavesdropped on other people's conversations. The girl looks at Henho distrustfully. She clearly felt the murderous intentions of the guy. It was felt even in his outstretched hand. But in the end, the mind is still alive. The girl understands that the guy is not lying to her. He showed the intention to kill to provoke her. She believes that he just wanted to find out who she is. The girl studies Henho with her gaze. Lowering her hand onto the table, she thinks that she has a bad feeling about this person. Jumping up from the chair, the girl says, "Nevertheless, one should not kill people so easily. Perhaps he, having grown up in a certain family, is ignorant of the world." Mughal Han is silent, but mentally he agrees with the girl, thinking that he wanted to say the same to him. Henho replies, "Perhaps she lived in a world soft as silky tofu." The girl is outraged. "What is he saying?" she says angrily. Martial arts teach to handle human lives carelessly. The mind tries to stop her. He asks her to calm down. After all, no one died, right? He admits that it is also true that he was eavesdropping. The young man adds that Miss Ju's ailment is cured, so it was not rude. She should show at least some gratitude. Henho says that there is no need to do that. The ailment is not cured at all. It is only temporary. The Sukto point will be blocked again. Mughal Han confirms his words. Indeed, a very evil curse. Therefore, probably even the old woman from Kunlun could not fix it. The mind is clearly distressed. He asks, "Does such a curse really exist?" Mughal Han answers, "Unfortunately." He adds that while they were resting, he heard about the noble son of the Jagal family. Focusing his gaze on the tray with a teapot and cups standing before him, the man says, "His health is deteriorating, and he needs Kunlun's help, right?" Yes, Kunlun is known as a Taoist sect, masterfully skilled in the art of immortality. The essence of the immortal arts is longevity, so there are many secret techniques related to health. He continues to say, regarding the health condition of the noble family's son, he heard that it does not seem like weakness from excessive reading of books. Mughal Han asks what Henho thinks about this. The young man replies that he agrees with him. Henho believes that he is probably under the influence of a curse. The alarmed mind exclaims, "This is witchcraft! What will happen to their young master?" Mughal Han answers that they cannot be completely sure until they see him themselves. For now, it is only his assumption. But since they are here anyway, they can go and check. The man looks around at all present, wishing to hear their opinion on the matter. Henho says, "If this is a problem related to the Jagal clan, then these are not strangers to them." Mughal Han asks, "So he agrees?" The guy answers, "Definitely. They will visit the Jagal family." The man is pleased with his answer. He agrees to everything, just to stay a little longer on the way to Shaolin. Thanks the servant who places a dish in front of him. The young man says that he will pay for tonight's dinner, so let them eat as much as they want. Ju says that first of all, she wants to know where her sword is now. She insists on getting an answer right now. Suddenly, a piece of food flies into her mouth, skillfully thrown by Henho. The girl closes her mouth and chews silently. The guy says, if she is looking for her things, they are in the room where he stayed. He will return them after dinner, and for now, let her just enjoy the food. Bringing chopsticks to his lips, Henho says that the girl should not say the word sword out loud. Ju sharply turns her head to the guy and looks at him in surprise. Mughal Han asks him not to be too strict with the girl. Kunlun Mountain is at the edge of the world, and there are not even villages around it. How can she know the world as well as he does? Explains to the girl that only people with permission can carry swords. Mostly, these are military officers or bodyguards. If she carries a sword without permission, the authorities will detain her. Ju angrily shouts that she knows all this. She just forgot for a moment. Henho says that the old woman probably gave her her precious staff out of care. But if she talks insanely about it, Then it made no sense, he adds. Maybe it would have been better if he hadn't treated her throat. The indignant girl sharply jumps up from the chair, shouting, "What did he say?" Leaning over the guy, she shouts, "Let him repeat his words." Henho, paying no attention to her, continues to eat calmly. Watching them, laughs. Henho sharply exhales. Mughal Han asks the guy if Beck Jen is not eating. The guy answers that he, having traveled such a short distance, fell from exhaustion. Why worry about him? Better just leave him alone. Mughal Han sighs sadly. What a heartless guy. He says that this is exactly why Henho should feed him more intensively, whether he likes it or not. But he is now in the Namgun clan, and if the boy dies of hunger, it will be the guy's responsibility. Henho objects. If you shove food into the mouth of a sleeping person and he chokes, that will also be his responsibility. Mughal Han grabs his head, saying that this is not what he meant. Could it be that the guy really doesn't understand? Leaning his hand on the table, the man abruptly rises from his seat. He tells the guy to forget about this conversation. He himself will go visit Beck Jen. Taking a plate of food, Mughal Khan heads to the exit, saying he will be back soon, and asks not to eat everything while he is gone. Replies, "Yes, of course." For a few moments he watches the man walking away. Then, turning to Henho and Ju, he says that after the war, both the Taoist and martial clans declined. But it is not very noticeable yet. The guy replies that they do not seek honors and do not expect a reception with many people. The mind, addressing Henho, replies that he is the heir of the Namgun clan and must be accepted as is proper in such a case. The guy says that their clan does not receive government subsidies, like the Jagal clan. In such times, one has to make not the best decisions. The guy says that this also concerns their visit to the Jagal clan. He does not want any fuss and wants to make the visit quietly. The young man replies that he understands him. Henho asks, "And regarding the condition of young Master Jagal, is there anything else they should know?" He explains that he is interested in any little details, even such as an excessive passion for books, and the slightest nuances in the behavior changes of the young heir. Thoughtfully says, now that Henho mentioned it, something really comes to his mind. Filling the cup, he says that he really remembered something important. The mind warns that it does not know if this will be useful. Suddenly everything comes into motion, and the young man falls silent, looking around in surprise. The kettle swiftly flies off the table. Those present at the table, along with the chairs, soar upwards under the influence of a red aura, and behind the young man appears a black shadow. Ju grabs the young man by his clothes. A barely perceptible male figure rushes past the falling kettle. The bewildered young man, who does not understand what is happening, finds himself on the floor. A frightened exclamation escapes his lips. Before them stands a strong warrior whose lower face is hidden by a mask. Streams of dark energy emanate from him. The man's face is disfigured by a cross-shaped scar. A red spark of murderous energy flashes in his eyes. The girl shouts indignantly, "Who is he, and how dare he?" Henho says that this man came to deal with him. Jumping up, he says he will take care of him in a more convenient place, and asks them not to interfere. Asks, how? Will the young master fight without weapons? The guy exclaims, "Let them wait a little." Wang Rip rushes after him. The girl says that everything is fine. This guy is really strong, and he took his weapon. Is surprised. He asks, "Really? When did he take his weapon?" The girl, pointing to the table where the chopsticks lay, explains that the guy took them before leaving. She calms the young man, saying that there is no need to worry. Looks at the girl in surprise. Chopsticks? But what can he do with them? Ju objects. These are not just chopsticks. They can become a terrifying hidden weapon. The young man does not understand how this is possible. The girl asks, has he already forgotten that he almost died without using a weapon? Remembers how Henho attacked him, and there was no weapon in his hands. The girl says, if she had not stopped him, who knows what could have happened. Ju explains that the essence of martial arts training is strengthening what a person is born with, and this applies to both the body and the mind. A true martial arts master is strong even without weapons. She believes that the guy may have outstanding skills, which is noticeable from his character. And these sticks, or any other object, can become a formidable weapon in his hands. The worried young man objects that the opponent Henho also seems to be an outstanding warrior. Ju replies that it does not matter. The difference in their internal energy is huge. Asks in surprise, "Internal energy?" The girl answers that, even at first glance, Namgun Henho's internal energy is incomparably greater than that of his opponent. She believes that at best, this fight will end in one clash. Says that he does not understand everything, but since the girl says that the guy will be fine, he may not worry. The young man adds that Henho is about the same age as their young master. Ju waves it off, found time to talk. Mughal Han approaches them, complaining about the mess. Shards of dishes lie on the floor at his feet. He says that there were not many clients in the hotel anyway, and during his absence, there became even fewer, and the hall is noticeably messy. Says that while he was gone, a killer appeared, and Namgun Henho disappeared with him. The young man adds, he said not to worry. The man says, "So, no need to worry." Then shouts, "What?" The girl and the young man flinch at his shout. Mughal Han asks, "Where did the guy go?" Points with his finger to where Henho and the killer headed. The man says, "This is very bad." Mughal Han thinks that this time he immediately rushes off, realizing that this time Henho is definitely going to kill someone. And Jun look after him in bewilderment, not understanding what worried him so much. The girl assumes that the man just rushed to protect the young master, but they are both unarmed. Jun decides that she should take her sword staff. The young man is surprised that the girl remains absolutely calm. Does not fully trust the girl's words that Mughal Han is overly protective of the young master. He thinks, it would be great if that were true. Mughal Han rushes forward swiftly, thinking, where did the guy go? And is he moving in the right direction himself? The man, hurrying to find Henho, thinks that since the guy left home, he has become strangely impatient, and seems to have been waiting for the right moment all along. Mughal Han believes there is a huge difference between controlling something and having no control at all. Erasing emotions and gaining power. All this should still feel unfamiliar to him. The man understands that Henho had to choose a suitable opponent in order to clearly understand the changes that happened to him, both in strength and mentality. He knows that Henho is seeking confirmation of whether he can really do whatever he wants. Mughal Han says, taking only Beck Jen and himself as companions was already a way to deliberately create a dangerous situation. He thinks, no, it started even earlier. He recalls the guy's behavior at the tournament. The man says that it doesn't matter how many killers die, but playing with a weak opponent like a mouse before killing is unacceptable. He calls Henho. At this time, the guy stands frozen. Behind him, trees are visible in the darkness. A pair of daggers rush towards him. Henho dodges them with amazing speed. A killer appears behind the guy. He watches with surprise as the killer changes the trajectory of his dagger's flight using chopsticks. Henho sharply turns, delivering a powerful kick to the opponent. The guy tries to knock the dagger out of the opponent's hand. The man waves his hand, but the guy is ready to block the attack. Henho dodges the dagger thrown by the opponent's strong hand. Wang Rip is stunned. The guy dodged his hidden weapon at close range? He thinks that now he begins to understand Namgun Sun's desire to kill the guy. The man believes that, in the end, he is facing an immature youth, and he was simply unlucky to meet him, such an experienced warrior. The man's hand reaches for the sword hidden in the scabbard attached to his back. He is sure that the guy cannot block his absolute blade of death unarmed. A question reaches him. How many times? Henho asks. How many times has he killed someone for money? Looking at his reflection in the blade of the sword, the man wonders, why should that concern him? Too many to count. Approximately since Henho's age, he has been making a living by harming others. In a jump, Henho attacks the opponent, appearing behind his back and saying that he holds no grudge against him, but his life now belongs to him. The man senses his approach but does not have time to react. The guy says, if that's so, then adds that it doesn't matter how he dies here, he has no regrets. That's his job. Armed with the enemy's dagger, Henho attacks him from behind. He cuts off the man's right hand, in which he was gripping a sword. The guy notes that his level of stealth technique is very high. Henho's gaze expresses unshakable calm. The enemy turns toward him in horror. Henho stands, clutching the dagger from which drops of blood drip to the ground. The man thinks about how well the guy has mastered the light step technique, although Namgun's song said the guy still has a long way to go to such achievements. But what is this? The mercenary cannot believe that with one swing of the dagger, Henho was able to deprive him of a limb. Wang Rip is surprised that he managed to do this with such a weak build. Looking at the guy, he thinks this is impossible. The mercenary thinks that the Namgun clan always remains on top, despite how other families try to develop. Looking at the red spark of deadly energy burning in the guy's eyes, the man realizes that the Namgun clan has raised a monster. Wang Rip realizes how dangerous an opponent he has encountered. He soars upward, trying to increase the distance. The man thinks that he is damn unlucky. This is some kind of absurdity. With one hand, he takes out a small bottle, and with his finger flicks off the cap. Henho stands, looking at the place where the man was just standing. He bends down and picks up the sword. Wang Rip tries to attack Henho in mid-jump, but the guy successfully deflects his attack with the sword, using the first energy sword technique. The man is surprised. He did not expect such skill from the guy. He disappears so fast that Henho cannot keep track of where he went. The guy listens cautiously, trying to understand where the opponent is now. His gaze shows slight tension, but he clearly feels no worry. Fear is clearly visible in the man's eyes. Henho and Wang Rip rush toward each other. The guy says he knows what he is planning and suggests he surrender. The man does not even think about stopping, and Henho swings the sword. He makes a feint, and Wang Rip rushes past him, but the man immediately turns around and rushes at the guy again. Henho uses the Heavenly Thunder Step technique. He says that the man could have avoided all this. He should have thought about it at the very beginning of the duel. Was it necessary to bring everything to such an end? The guy adds that he should have thought about it earlier, pointing the sword at the opponent. Henho says that he doesn't need to think about anything at all. He should just surrender. In Wang Rip's head, a thought strikes. What the hell? What is this? Henho attacks and cuts off the opponent's second arm. The man falls to the ground. His groan reaches the guy. The mercenary asks to be killed quickly. A pool of blood spreads on the ground. The man shouts for Henho to kill him immediately. The guy stands, looking at the writhing man on the ground. The sword falls to his feet. Henho sees traces of white powder on the ground. Now he understands that the man used it after he cut off his right hand, which is why he was able to continue fighting and not bleed out. Because of this potion, the mercenary's blood coagulated quickly. Henho asks, does the man really want to die, or does he still want to live? Then let him ask for it properly. Wang Rip says that people like him, who use Namgun Sun's money to kill children, are everywhere. The guy replies that the man can say whatever he wants. But for him, full pockets and personal safety have always been the most important things in life. He is willing to bet that the mercenary doesn't even have the dignity of a warrior. He's just afraid to die. The guy says, let him admit that even if he lost both hands and legs and had to crawl like an insect all his life, he would still want to live, right? He suggests the man stop these ridiculous talks about death, act directly, and beg to be spared, showing the man the powder he collected from the ground. Henho says he wants to hear him pray for his life to be saved. He adds that he has heard many pleas for mercy from different people, but he wonders if this will evoke even a little emotion in him now. Henho suggests to the man, let him start begging and hurry up. A sword falls on Wang Rip's head. Mughal Han, hiding his weapon, says that he went through all these hardships to find Henho and finds this disgraceful sight here. He asks, is the guy really trying to test his patience? Or is he just in a bad mood? Looking sternly at Henho, he adds, does he seriously want to be punished? Mughal Han and Henho silently measure each other with dissatisfied glances, ready to leap into battle at any moment. The guy says, bad mood. Actually, it's hard to enjoy life when your throat feels like it's being squeezed by someone's merciless hand. He feels like a rag doll played with by an unknown puppeteer. The man says that Henho never intended to spare him, right? He adds, "Then let him stop playing and finish it with one sword strike." Henho replies, if he had asked him seriously, then maybe, just maybe, his heart could have wavered. Mughal Han says that no matter how pathetic he considers the guy, given the way things are developing, he needs assurance that the guy won't do the same to him. Henho looks at him with a gloomy, heavy gaze. The guy explains that he wants to see the changes that have happened to him. He wants to feel them so that he doesn't have even a shadow of doubt. Regardless of the situation, he wants to know that he can act without hesitation, not bound by uncertainty. Waves of anger literally emanate from the man as he calmly says, "And yet this is not the way." Henho asks, "So what? Should he show mercy and say what he should do instead?" The man looks at him challengingly, then says, No need to ask. Better to show everything in action." Mughal Han rushes forward, attacking the guy. The man strikes with his hand, but Henho deflects them. Mughal Han's palm rushes forward swiftly, but it meets Henho's leg, which he uses to block the strike. The man takes advantage of the moment and grabs the guy's ankle. Having made the hold, he spins Henho like a rag doll, and then, tossing him up, he lets go. Mughal Han tries to hit the guy who landed on his feet, but he dodges, and the man's hand crashes into a tree trunk. Looking at Henho, Mughal Han asks him to remember one thing. Mercenaries like this one lack even the smallest particle of pride. As long as their pockets are full, nothing else interests them. Pointing at the decapitated body, the man adds, "The guy dared to play with a person's life. Now his own life is at stake." He considers this fair. Mughal Han shouts angrily for Henho not to play with other people's lives, because people are not toys. And he should not expect him to calmly accept his unnecessary cruelty, pretending it means nothing. He says that this kind of arrogance he expected from Henho's enemies, who crossed all boundaries. But let the guy remember, once he crosses that line, there will be no way back. Henho replies, "They have already crossed the line." Does Mughal Han really expect him to respect some imaginary boundary and treat enemies with restraint? The guy says the man constantly clings to these impossible ideals, as if the world ever obeyed them. And let Mughal Han call him ruthless. Sighing, Henho says, "Well, if the man is not satisfied with his methods, then he suggests doing it the way the man wants." Henho asks Mughal Han to explain his plan to him. He proposes to settle their disagreements once and for all, and let the result determine who is right. The man agrees. Fine. He asks the boy to come closer and reveal his sword. The man says that the energy sword of the Namgun clan, at his current level, let Henho use exactly this technique. Mughal Han asks him not to doubt and to fight properly. The boy replies that this is just one move. Henho beckons him with his hand. The man replies, "He did ask how to deal with those who cross the line. Then let him show how to resist a sword without using his own weapon." The boy swings the bloodied blade, saying, if he really believes his words, taking a fighting stance, he raises the sword, holding it with both hands, saying, "Then let Mughal Han watch carefully." The boy rushes forward, attacking the man. The tip of his blade is aimed at Mughal Han's chest. Opening the door, Ju asks, "Is this the room?" Examining the room, the girl says, "His words sound worthy, but his actions are evil." Something catches Ju's attention and slips from her lips. In an instant, the girl is at the table and, crouching down, grabs the sword, leaning against it, exclaiming joyfully, "There it is! Her treasure!" The joyful expression slowly fades from her face, replaced by a puzzled one. The corners of her lips turn down. She wonders, "Why is this room empty?" Ju asks, "Who said you can't get comfortable here?" Her gaze falls on an empty plate standing on the table. Mughal Han tells Henho not to cross the line. The man adds, "If the guy acts like that, he will be forced to act the same way with him." Henho rushes into attack, using the Changgun Muay sword technique. This is a secret martial art of the Namgun clan, which traditionally uses a heavy double sword. For handling such a weapon, stability in the waist and lower body is important. Because of this, the clan's main techniques often imply that both feet are firmly planted on the ground. However, The previous head of the Namgun clan rejected offensive-aggressive sword techniques. Having done this, he never took the sword in his hands again. Henho's choice is not about a lighter and more agile swing. He chose the technique of the sword of penetrating strikes. The guy uses the Changgun Mue sword technique. Third position, Sky Destroyer. The guy's sword is aimed at Mughal Han's chest. Henho makes a lunge, delivering a strike. The tip of the sword quickly approaches the target. The man tries to dodge and get out of the way of the blow. The guy asks, did he think he could dodge just because he knew this technique? Henho says that he foresaw it. The man makes an elusive movement and jumps up. He says, the guy instantly changed the trajectory of the strike, following his movements. Mughal Han says, not bad, but the man holds onto a branch with one hand, and the guy standing below points his sword at him, almost touching his throat. Mughal Han says that he also expected these actions from the guy. Several times Henho tries to reach him with the sword, but the man deflects his attacks with his feet. His shoes tear as he wraps his feet around the sword, pulls it out, and throws it aside. The man explains that every time the direction of the strike changes, Henho's power significantly weakens because he has gathered all his internal energy in the lower part of his body. He is surprised that the guy used the technique a bit unusually. Changgun Mu'ai sword with a leg? Landing. The man laments that his shoes are completely ruined. The guy thinks that the man's tactics are both reckless and brilliant. He is watching Mughal Khan closely, pondering his technique. The man raises his hand, straightening 3 fingers and bending the others. He asks, has Henho seen this? There are 3 ways to counter a sword without using a weapon. All of them read the sword's trajectory, the man adds. But since the guy saw everything himself, he does not feel the need for explanations. Henho says, reading the trajectory and using the enemy's weapon against him in the opposite direction. What nonsense is that? Mughal Khan says, it does not matter. Throwing his hand forward and pointing his index finger at the guy, the man says, in any case, he accepted the deal without hesitation, so he should stop whining. The man asks, Henho, is everything clear? The guy, without much enthusiasm, says, understood. He feels deceived and angry. His hand involuntarily clenches into a fist. Henho understands that he still has emotions after all. He wonders, or is it still temporary surprise? Or maybe it never disappeared. He decides that in any case, it is better not to show it and to hide it. But Mughal Khan notices everything and asks, does he still have feelings after all? The guy suddenly turns to him and looks at him intently. The man is curious. It's true, right? That's why it's even harder for him now. He says that erasing emotions does not make a person stronger. Being strong is not about getting rid of everything unnecessary or forcibly taking whatever is needed. Mughal Khan explains that strength comes from endurance, struggle, and repeating the process even when it is painful, difficult, and exhausting. It is precisely because people are imperfect that they can become stronger. The complete exclusion of anything and calling it control is simply an escape that will never become true strength. Henho says, he feels that the man is misunderstanding something. He explains that he does not want to make the same mistake again. The guy says that he has seen a truly powerful being before. Henho remembers the adult Beck Jen clutching a sword in his hand, suddenly turning away from Mughal Khan. Henho says that, in any case, he understands everything, and therefore suggests they stop there. A man calls out to a departing guy. Where has he seen something like this? Not waiting for an answer, he says. So he says, strong? If that were true, they wouldn't suffer so much. But he agrees that this is the end of their argument. On Um's face are alertness and displeasure. He, walking along the road with the other companions, thinks that everything is somehow not turning out as he would like. The young man is glad that Mughal Han and Henho returned safely. But since then, the atmosphere seems tense to him. He wonders, did they really fight? Is not a very talkative person. And moreover, he is not one of those people who like to start a conversation first. But their joint journey is too silent and depressing. He is glad that it will soon be over. Seeing buildings ahead, the young man realizes that they have already arrived. Mughal Han, looking around, says, everything is as they said. This place is far in the mountains, and it is very quiet here. Says that their settlement has greatly expanded since their ancestors settled here. The man says that the three of them will pay a modest visit. Approaching the gates, he admits that he is nervous to be in this historic place. Knocking on the gates, the young man says that they have traveled a long way, so let them rest and recover first. The gates open, and is rudely grabbed by the chest. Mughal Han and Henho are surprised by such a meeting. An elderly man with tears in his eyes shouts, "Why did he return only now?" The young master fainted. Fear and confusion are written on Uma's face. He asks in horror, "What?" Mughal Han measures the pulse of the person lying on the bed under the blanket. Holding the limp wrist in his hands, he feels the pulse on the wrist with his fingers. The man says that the heartbeat is very weak and asks, "What did the doctor say?" The servant explains. At first they thought it was due to overwork from the daily study process. They prescribed acupuncture and medicines to restore vital energy. But when that did not work, they shrugged and said they did not know what to do. Crying, the servant complains that since the young master lost consciousness a few days ago, he has remained bedridden. Mughal Han admits he was sure that by personally seeing the young master, he would not have difficulty making a diagnosis. But he still does not know what is wrong with him. It is not a curse. And when tested with gold and silver, there was no reaction. So, probably, it is not poison. Continuing to sit by the young man's bed, the man says that there are no signs that any pressure points were pressed or pierced. And yet he still has not awakened. He finds this strange. The servant sighs. At this rate, Mughal Han turns around when he hears the question. What does he mean? Hasty footsteps are heard, and the same voice asks, "Does he mean that their one he might die?" A tall, red-bearded man demands an immediate response. The servant says that he did not mean that, but the man hits him in the face and shouts for him to step aside. He shouts again that he heard about the arrival of guests, but he did not give permission to visit the patient. How dare the servant show the child in such a condition without permission? The servant falls to his knees and bows so low that his forehead touches the floor. He asks for forgiveness, but since the young master has not yet come to his senses, he desperately clings to any straw. The man says that no one gave him the right to decide who to let in and who not to. His Majesty learned about the situation and said he would send the royal doctor. Then they will make a decision. He says that he considers it premature to make any decisions now. Mughal Han replies. He did not know that they were present here without permission. He believes that in that case, it really is better for them to leave. Henho objects. These are not premature decisions. If nothing is done now, the young master will die. The red-bearded man exclaims, "What?" He says that he was patient only out of respect for young Lord Namgun. And now he speaks ill wishes? Is this the level of the Namgun family? The man, pointing them to the door, orders them to leave immediately, but no one is in a hurry to leave the room. Mughal Han continues to sit in the armchair, and Henho remains standing in place. The guy says that even with all this noise, the young master shows no signs of life. Does the man really think that the royal doctor can change anything? If he were capable of miracles, His Majesty would not still be suffering from gout. The man shouts. Then what does he suggest? Fold his hands and sit waiting for him to die. Henho answers negatively. He did not say that. The guy states that he knows the cause of the ailment. The man is clearly struck by his words. He exclaims impatiently, "So what is it?" Henho begins to say that the most likely. But Mughal Han interrupts him. He is not even a doctor. What could he possibly know? If he is wrong, the entire Namgun clan will face the consequences. The guy replies that he understands the man's anxiety, as he believes Henho always acts impulsively, but asks to trust him this time. He explains that even before he entered the room, he clearly felt it. The guy says that he sensed an unusual toxic energy. He is sure that although there was no reaction to gold and silver, it is definitely poison. It is just quite rare and not commonly used. Mughal Han is surprised. Poison? He feels nothing. But perhaps Henho senses it, because he suppresses the toxic energy of the monster with poisonous flames inside his energy core. Henho says that talking will prove nothing. He prefers to show them what, as he suspects, caused the young master's condition, and asks those present to follow him. Standing next to the guy, the red-bearded head of the family says that the library has already been searched, but the guy still believes that the source of the ailment is actually here. The man states that if Henho is wrong, and all this will be a waste of time, then his father will be responsible for this, as well as for his rude behavior. The guy calmly says that he sincerely wants the young master Jagal to recover. He adds that he also hates wasting time. Pointing with his finger at the corner covered with cobwebs, the guy asks, "Could this be removed?" He claims that that thing is the true cause of the young master's illness. The head of the Jagal family says in surprise, "Spider venom?" Henho replies that it is not about the spider. The servant brings him the cobweb, and Henho extends his hand to take it. He takes it from the servant and repeats again that it is not the spider. Clenching it in his hand, he says, "It is the one that clings to this cobweb." A sweetish smell led him here, and its source was the cobweb that Henho is now holding in his hand. The guy says that it is a moth. He explains that no matter how old the library is, poisonous spiders would not be left unattended. There were no bite marks on the young master's body. Demonstrating the web, he continues to say, "If the spider itself is not poisonous, but the web carries a poisonous aura, it means that something poisonous got into it. Must be a moth covered in poison." He adds that they will verify this if they open the cocoons caught in the web. As soon as they identify the poison, they will be able to create an antidote. The servant, stammering, says, "Really?" He suggests immediately opening the cocoons. The head of the family says that the guy's words sound truthful. But could this same dust have opposed his son's recovery? Their family has lived here for several generations. If such dangerous creatures existed, they would definitely know about it. Henho replies, "He never said that the moth itself is poisonous." He clarifies that he was talking about a moth covered in poison. The guy emphasizes that the head of the family should understand the difference. The man ponders his words. He orders the servant to take assistance and collect all the webs and the cocoons within them. The servant bows hastily, rushing to carry out the order. He leaves them, shouting that he needs to hurry. The head of the Jagal family contemplates for a while. Then the man asks, "Has such a thing ever happened in the Namgun clan?" Henho answers, "It is difficult to discuss family matters with outsiders, but it has become known that the deaths of children from Murim families have increased." The young man says that he himself is alive and intends to remain so. The head of the family asks, what did the young man mean when he said he sincerely believes that his heir will fully recover? Henho replies that he has already explained. The young man says that, unlike other Murim families, which only strive for power struggles, the Jagal family values honor and nobility. He sincerely hopes that the young master will recover and marry his sister, as promised. A hand falls on the blood-stained clothes, and one barely audible word is heard. "Brother." He carries his sister in his arms, in a blood-stained dress, who says that no one is to blame for what happened. Therefore, there is no need to hold a grudge against anyone. She says she wanted to marry Beck Jen, now she cannot. But perhaps in the next life. Henho, recalling this, mentally tells his sister, even if she is born 1,000,000,000 times, it will not happen. He began to suspect that perhaps the person who led the attack on the Namgun family and killed him was not Beck Jen. But he is still sure that he is somehow involved in all this. In any case, Henho does not believe that Beck Jen can provide Hua-Rin with a happy life. He is sure that marrying the young lord from the Jagal family is a much better choice. Therefore, he wholeheartedly wishes him a recovery. In the boy's eyes, a reflection of the fire raging in his chest flashes. The head of the family looks at him challengingly. A cup with liquid is brought to the patient's lips, and it is carefully poured into his mouth. The young master lies in bed with his eyes closed. Mughal Han, looking at him worriedly, says that after taking the medicine, the youth's complexion improves. That means it works. When he heard Henho's assumption about the web and the moths, he almost fainted. He's glad it was not a mistake. Mughal Han tells Henho that as soon as and Ju bring medicines that increase vitality, the effect of the antidote will be even more powerful. The boy asks, can he try it too? The man believes that if it is properly mixed for his constitution type, everything will be fine. The head of the family feels shame. The man quietly says that he is sincerely grateful to them. He admits that at first he was skeptical. He adds that by Henho's eyes, he saw that he truly wants to save his son. The clan leader bows deeply, saying that he will never forget what Henho has done for them. The man promises that in the future, he is always ready to support the Namgun clan. Henho bows his head in a reciprocal bow, saying that his words themselves are a great honor for him. He will also do everything to be worthy of such a position. He adds that now, having earned the trust of the head of the family, he must tell him something. The man asks, what is it? Let him speak freely. He asks the head of the clan to be cautious with the doctor arriving from the palace. The man is stunned by his words and cannot hide his surprise. The young man reminds that he had already said earlier, sudden deaths of heirs of Murim families have become more frequent. He asks the head to be careful with outsiders, regardless of who they are. The man replies that he understands what the young man is hinting at. He adds that no further explanations are needed. Henho says he would like to stay to observe the condition of the young master, but they stopped by on business during their journey, so they have to leave now. Handing over a paper, he says that he wrote a recipe for an antidote developed by Mughal Han. The head of the family must personally keep it and give instructions. He adds that and Ju will bring more medicine that will perfectly complement the antidote. Henho says then, the head of the family says, one moment. He adds that he does not know where they are heading, but it seems they are not properly prepared for the journey. He will assign them guards. The man believes that, as a young Murim master, the guy should be more cautious. Henho, heading to the door, assures him that he will be fine. Traveling with a large group attracts too much unnecessary attention. Passing by the man, he adds that he is not that weak after all. The head of the family is impressed by his aura. He is surprised at how skillfully the guy concealed his incredible inner energy. The man, looking after Henho, notes his outstanding skills, calm judgment, and lack of emotional fluctuations, and he must be about the same age as his son. The head of the family thinks that the guy does not look like a child at all, which even seems ominous. Mughal Han, sighing tiredly, says, he does not take a single day off, and immediately sets off. He is definitely strong. The man sitting at the table opposite Henho asks, he walked, ran, and fought. Isn't he tired? The guy answers that he is fine. Maybe Mughal Han's training is not good enough? The man drops his head on the table, spilling the drink from the cup. He asks, does the boy know why Emperor Qin Huang searched for the elixir of life? If martial arts were all powerful, one could simply study them. Wasting inner strength on such a trifle as fatigue is so foolish. The man mutters that no matter how much you train, the youth are still invincible. Probably, that's his luck. The boy replies, if someone hears him, they would think he is at least 60 years old. Beck Jen sits with them. The servant who brought them food leaves. The boy asks, does he really want to go to Shaolin? Mughal Han answers that he must go to Shaolin. He believes that the monks will help the boy solve his problems. Sipping from the cup, Henho asks, what problems? The man says, she is not alone, but the biggest among them is his inner self. The boy admits that he still feels remnants of emotions, and it confuses him. He adds, actually, this feeling is becoming stronger. Beck Jen listens to their conversation. Henho fears that he might again plunge into a storm of such emotions as anxiety or hatred. Mughal Han says, well, that brings him relief. The boy is surprised by his reaction. Raising his head, the man asks, does he remember their conversation in the forest, when he said he discovered something important? Henho answers affirmatively. Yes, he remembers. Mughal Khan believes that since the guy's return, the situation has become just as dangerous. He thought everything through carefully, and at the moment he heard those words, one possibility came to mind. He asks, did the guy have doubts? The man clarifies, He is talking about the suspicion that someone else besides him might have returned to the past. He pronounces altered past, present, and accelerating threat. He feels like a seer. The man says that the guy's goal should be exactly the same future as in the previous life. He explains that despite many changes, the main trend, such as the weakening of the world of martial arts, remains the same. It can be even more deadly and dangerous. Mughal Khan believes that this trend probably includes the destruction of the Namgun family. He adds, maybe it is not just a reproducer. He suggests that it might be the very inspirer. At these words, the boy's eyes widen in surprise. The guy is wondering, a brilliant master? Beck Jen covers his face in horror with his elbow. Mughal Khan snaps his fingers, attracting attention to himself, and the boy flinches. This sound brings him to his senses. Raising his index finger admonishingly, the man continues to speak. He believes that, in this sense, Beck Jen is not this person. He cannot be the returned soul. Mughal Han is sure that with such a frail body as Beck Jen's, this is impossible. And when meeting the mad killer and his friend, the boy was dragged like a slave. He says, if there is another returned soul, then this person is the inspirer of all this. The man believes that even if the boy regains his emotions, his anger will be lost. He says that since everything will be uncertain, because the boy does not even know who he has to deal with, this will help him avoid fuss. Mughal Han, waving his hand, decides to sum up. He believes that now is the right time for self-control training, not for improving killing skills. The man asks the boy not to stop being human just because he is fighting something inhuman, be it an enemy or fate. Henho, lying in bed, sinks into reflection. In his head, the words of Mughal Khan sound. He must not give up in the struggle to remain human. He thinks that his enemy is not Beck Jen, but someone else, a real genius. Such thoughts even make his head spin. The guy decides that he needs to throw out the moment of his death from his mind and track back to more distant memories. He needs to return to the day his father died. After all, everything went wrong since then. Then everything quickly worsened, and he began to quarrel with Beck Jen. Becoming the clan leader without preparation, he became nervous and angry. His father was shot on the road when he was heading to a meeting with Beck Jen. The situation with his sister was very similar. The common factor in all the troubles was precisely Beck Jen. But if you calmly think about it, another thought appears. All this now seems artificial to the guy, as if someone deliberately set him up. He opens his eyes, thinking about Beck Jen. Before his mental vision stands a poorly dressed boy. He mentally asks him a question. Was he the person who killed him?